All right, so welcome to another Torogi talk where we attempt to unpack anything and everything Igorot. Where it's through story or discussion, we hope to increase the awareness of our people and hopefully inspire others to seek out greater understanding of our culture, just as we are. So today we have a special guest, somebody new this time. So her name's Danai, and she is, well, I'll let her introduce herself, but yeah, just another in the diaspora there, at least in Canada this time. So we've introduced ourselves multiple times, so I don't think we have to do that anymore. So Danai, could you tell us a little bit about yourself just to get this started?
Hey, I'm Danai. I'm sorry, you pronounce it Danai, the Igorot way. My last name is Aquino. And I am originally from Basao in the Philippines. I grew up in Baguio, however. I moved to Canada in 2007, but now I live in Calgary. Hi, nice to meet y'all.
Nice. And are you
Hey,
right now? Are you
hello.
part of an Igorot organization in Calgary?
There's an organization in Calgary called MPAC, which is the Mountain Province Association of Calgary. I'm pretty sure it's called. And they meet quite a few times a year. They meet kind of like the BBAC in Vancouver. But I think the BBAC is just in a larger scale. That includes BBAC in Calgary is like in a larger scale that includes like like Ifugao, Payo, and all that. But the Mountain Province organization is more like Busao, Sagada, Bontoc, like that area. And Boku, I think, is the bigger group as well. But it's slowly slowed down in the last couple years, just because people have become like busier. So then they couldn't really organize much. Like everyone, because everyone works and stuff. So there hasn't been any big gatherings lately, but that it does exist, and I sometimes join. So
Nice.
Bebop doesn't really. It doesn't. There's not much in Bebop here.
Yeah, that was going to be my
Oh,
follow-up
okay.
question. So
Uh,
there isn't a Bivouac at all, or is it just not active?
there is. It's just not as active, like at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why is
Interesting.
that?
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I just feel like it's such a huge um amount of people from like a huge plot of land. I think that like they just can't organize. It's just not
Mm.
easy, or no one has ever really successfully organized it properly to have it run as it does in Vancouver.
Mm.
I see.
When was
Yeah.
the last time you attended Calgary Bebop?
Uh,
Or were you even able to catch them before they like slowed down?
like
Mm-hmm.
I honestly like it was probably like 2014 or something like that. It was a long time ago.
That is a long time ago. Now.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because we weren't paying attention or like we're not part of the group or so, I don't know, but
You're
like we
not part
just
of the
have
Facebook group.
not. Yeah, exactly. But I haven't heard anyone saying like, "Oh, we went to the Bebop thing." Like no one ever said that. It was always like the Mountain Province one. So
And that's a lot
yeah,
more active, you said.
yes, yes.
So when did you come to Canada? At what age?
I came to Canada when I was 13, 2007. I was turning 14.
Oh,
I turned
wow.
14
So
here. Yeah.
how did you come to Canada? What was
Um,
the
my mom's brother, so my uncle, sponsored us as orphans, me and my brother, over here when I was 14, and then we lived in Burnaby with them for about 5 years, and after that, my sister worked her way from the Philippines to Texas as a nurse. She wasn't able to be sponsored because she was like over the age at the time,
Mhm.
but she was in full-time school, so they didn't know that she was still able to be sponsored. But
Oh.
anyway, so she had to work her way to Texas, and then her ultimate goal was Canada because my brother and I are here. And so she applied for a student visa and ended up in Calgary, and I moved with her here 5 years ago, 2012. No, that's
Oh,
not 5 years. That's like
Let's
8 years
let's
ago.
not 5 years ago.
No,
Time
it's
flies.
too long.
So tell
Too
us
long.
about your education.
My education. So I finished high school in BC,
Yeah.
and then I moved over to Calgary with my sister, and I was helping out with babysitting and stuff like that. And I didn't really like for a long time. It was really hard for me to pick what I really wanted to do. So then my sister suggested that I go for like a short program state, the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology here, for an MOA and unit clerk certificate diploma. So I took that quickly. So then I got a job quickly too. And then after that, I've been working as an admin assistant for a while now. And then now I'm just working my way and saving some money so that I can go back to school for something else.
Oh, what were you thinking?
Well,
Nursing?
I'm thinking of taking. Oh my god, no! My sister,
Nursing.
sister's
Nursing!
nurse. She
Nursing!
doesn't encourage nursing. Isn't that great?
Why not?
What?
Nursing is the way.
No,
Yeah, man.
Okay, what is it though?
it's. I'm thinking of clinical aesthetics, which is
Oh, wow.
like skincare,
Oh, okay.
to work
Wow.
with a dermatologist and stuff. Maybe
Yeah.
give y'all talks. Just kidding.
Hmm?
No, Botox.
Oh, Botox.
Yeah.
Botox.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Ooh,
That's
wow.
big money,
Yeah.
dude.
Wow. So when,
That's big
wow.
Hey,
So when I
that's
get
big
old, you
money.
could like do the wrinkles. Wow.
Yeah, like on your forehead,
You can do that as
Yeah.
a nurse.
Oh, wow.
your cheeks.
But would you be doing extractions too? Like
Probably.
Do you ever watch Dr. Pimple Popper?
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Pimple Popper.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
it's like it's
Is
Yeah,
that-
she's pretty
that's what
gross.
she's
I mean,
into?
the stuff that she does is like, wow, that is super gross.
yeah,
She
but some
cleans
people
pretty
do
good.
that, man. Yeah, she like totally extracts, man. There's some crazy stuff that's on that show, just like
Yeah.
huge cysts and stuff, and
Makes you wonder how they
Blood.
got it, hey? Like,
yeah,
how?
I know. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why, but man, that's interesting though. Yeah, I mean, like, so like getting into some type of into dermatology, would it be, or like,
Is that the
yeah,
same
it's
as being
related
like an
to.
esthetician? Or is that
Yes,
different?
yes.
esthetician? Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Interesting.
That's the one.
That's like usually like a 2-year program, I think, isn't it?
It's a 1-year
Yes.
program, at least in the States.
Yeah,
I think it's 2 years here. The program I saw at least was 2 years.
it's quite
Mhm.
long. You probably have to learn.
And you could also link it with being a lot of times estheticians also do work as as massage therapists too. There's quite a few programs that seem to link it all
Mm.
together.
I would, but I would. That's one of the
Too
actually
much
when I
work.
was it's just hard on the body, right?
I can be.
No, it is. It is.
Yeah.
so-
Or you could be a complete cosmetologist too and do that
True.
thing because there's a lot of openings in there
Yeah.
for it.
yeah.
But what I recommend though, if you really get into that, like do a side course on nutrition, because a lot of the stuff that happens with the skin is from the inside out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like
Ooh.
yeah, like
But you can pop those big nasty pimples. Ugh, you can lance it.
you know how you make even more money is you go and take videos of all these extractions and you go on YouTube and there's like complete fan bases that just totally get into this.
That's so true, actually. I
Yeah,
have friends that are into that. It's so weird.
but I mean, I have to admit,
It's satisfying.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
like that
You know,
ASMR thing, whatever they call it.
it's like
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
Although I
yeah.
can't get
We'll
my
see.
wife to ever pop any of my pimples or anything. I get my
Oh
daughter to
my
do
god,
it.
that's not good though. You shouldn't be popping your pimples.
Yeah, I know that's
yeah.
what they say. Well, there's a prime time to do it. You got to like steam the skin and all this stuff. So,
No.
well, what is it? Oh, so you've been
So
studying
weird.
already. You've been researching it already.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. So you really do have a passion for it, or like a complete interest in skin issues.
I have a great interest for it. Yeah, for sure.
Is it a personal thing for you, like when you grew up or something like
No,
that, or is it like
no. Like people, so a couple of people did ask me, like, oh, like, did you have really bad skin, or like,
yeah?
like, what did you? Yeah, it's not like I never had really like big skin problems or anything
Mhm.
like that. But it's just I feel like it's just it's the what's it called? It's the fact that people are very vain, so it's always
Yeah.
going to be available, right?
Oh, okay. So it's
So
more
then
of
I can always
a practical
yeah,
reason behind it.
exactly,
Makes
exactly.
sense.
And it's fun
Yeah.
too when like
Hey, if you have the
especially
cure
when
to
you talk to
baldness,
women.
then I'm all in.
Just
We'll see what I can do.
See, look at the hat there. There's a reason why.
Own
you
it,
got some hair
own it,
there.
Manu.
Mark got the good side. He got the non-koi side.
Oh, that's
Sorry,
right.
Oh,
koi oms, but we know where this baldness stuff comes from. Yeah,
It really does come from the mom side. It really does.
yeah.
Sorry
Yeah,
to
and
my
if you look at my
cousins.
relatives who had that koyom gene, man, oh man. Actually, you know what saved me? Well, and I learned this from a friend who worked for the FDA, and he said, you know what? Just use brandy every day. That's the same ingredient as Rogaine. The active ingredient is alcohol.
It's to increase blood flow to the scalp.
Yeah, so I did that,
Oh.
and actually, so I have outlasted. See, still have hair there. There. Still have hair there, and in fact, that's because of that brandy treatment. It kept me having hair probably about 15 years longer than a lot of my relatives. Our relatives.
wow.
Mark, he got the Watan side. See that nice, thick, luscious hair?
No,
Oh,
man. I think I didn't have this much forehead. It must have used to come down to about right here at least, But
yeah.
the forehead is
So
starting to show more. So.
yeah,
Anyway, sorry
yeah.
guys, sidetrack there. We tend to
Sorry,
go on.
Rowan. My son has your hair.
Oh
Mark,
yeah, definitely.
so,
He's got our hair.
yeah.
Lucky.
Yeah. So, anyways, you'll be dealing with that, Danai. So, fun.
The night. So you're saying it's more of a practical kind of reason to
Yeah.
choice.
And I think it's like I think I like it enough that it's interesting when I talk about it too. So then people know that people understand that like I actually am interested in it too. It's not like it's not like it's not only practical.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's not because like I'm gonna get money from this or like you know what I mean? Just because it's like it's actually something
And
that
would you say that?
care about.
Would you say that Igorot people are do think about their skin? Because I remember years ago when we went to the
Yeah.
Philippines, my mom used to come back with those bottles of Escanol, right? Remember
Oh
that
yeah, for sure.
skin
Filipinos
stuff.
are very vain, like very vain.
Yeah, Filipinos in general.
In general, yeah.
Igorots, they don't really think about it. It's not really something that like that's in the forefront of their priorities for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They
I
don't.
agree.
It's not something that they think about. But I feel like there are a lot of things that they don't think about because it's not a priority. But then when you bring it up, they're like, oh yeah, you're right. Like you know what I mean? Like oh no, what am I doing? Kind of thing. And then it kind of like just they just become aware. But it's
But is it
definitely
because we
not
have better
something that
skin?
they not
I
all
was
of us
gonna mention it. I was gonna mention it. Like
do.
when you said that you've never had like any skin problems.
No, like
Like
not anything severe.
right, and I
Like for
was
sure I've
thinking.
had pimples and stuff.
I kept trying to think in my head like who I might know from Bebuk that has like bad skin. But like I don't know any like from
Maybe
like me
eczema?
and my family. Who?
Eczema.
Maybe eczema.
Yeah, it's probably a lot of eczema.
Maybe,
Mm.
but like I've never
No,
had
I've had
very,
family.
very
I've
bad.
had people in my family for sure that had like pretty bad skin. Like not
Right.
everyone, not all of us have like fair skin. Okay.
No, some of us are darker than this.
Okay. No, like I mean, like
We're talking about
people
skin
know.
health, though, not like shades of. Well, although the
Yeah.
Escanol.
Too much
is-
melanin.
You know?
But technically, Escanol is just I don't know what they use for the whitener, lemon or something like that. But I know it's just a toner, isn't it?
Actually, Escanol is really bad for your skin
Okay,
because
that's
it has
Did you hear that, everyone? It's bad.
it
Yeah.
has alcohol in the ingredients, and you're not supposed to be putting alcohol on your skin because it'll eat
Oh.
the skin cells off.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not good. And then it can leave like hyperpigmentation that will come as you age. Like it doesn't even get there when you put it on. Like it gets there later. You won't even see it now.
Hyperpigmentation, like darker,
Yeah,
or
it's
really?
yeah. So like the dark
Freckles,
spots
like
on your
spots?
skin.
Yeah.
Yeah. hmm
Oh
Oh,
man,
like
is that why I
liver
have those
spots.
now? Because that's what my mom used to put on me when I was a kid. No,
Yeah, that's why it
That's-
smells
that's a
really
joke.
strong, right?
actually, she did used to use that. I
Huh?
mean, I'm like, oh my
She
god.
kind of had it there,
Uh,
but like, mom wasn't using it furiously or anything like that. It's
Yeah,
just one of those
yeah.
No,
things.
she wasn't, but it was
Yeah.
like used as like a face cleaner at
Yeah,
night,
it's like a face cleaner is what she would use it for.
right?
Like, yeah,
Hmm.
because it
Um,
has alcohol. I mean, like, jeez.
I wouldn't
Yeah, I
use it at all,
know.
but if you have to, like maybe just swipe it once and then wash your face again. Like I wouldn't leave it on the skin.
I know these days I just use water, man. I
I
use
don't.
water
I
for
don't.
most of the time, just water. And then, like, if you ever need some, if you get really greasy, then you can use a little bit of mild soap. But then, mainly, just use water and.
White soaps are bad too.
Huh?
Like
Okay.
white soaps, they're bad
White
too.
soap.
Why?
Everything's
How
Because
is
bad.
it still has fragrance, and soap, like the ingredient of soap itself, is irritant. It's an irritant to the skin.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So even to
So
women, they're
is it
not
just
supposed
water
to.
then?
No, but that's why labs have created like face cleansers and stuff, right? So
Wow.
they're made for your face. So you have
What
to
about
study your
Oh,
face
okay,
for
okay, yeah.
yeah.
What
But
about
like
essential oils?
no, do not put essential oils. No.
Is that what you do? Oh man.
No, essential
No.
oils is from the devil,
Herbal
man.
essence. Like,
No.
Shit's not real.
It's not. Don't tell my sister that.
What is it? Does she sell it?
No. But she
Oh,
like
is that a pyramid thing over there
Yeah.
too?
Yeah, essential oils.
my
That's a
gosh.
thing.
You
Yeah.
can smell
Wow.
it. It
Essential
smells
oils.
good.
smells
Yeah,
good, yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. They're good
I
for
mean, like it's good aromatherapy,
yeah,
but not like
not curing cancer or anything like that. Because
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what they're peddled as sometimes, man. I
yeah.
remember back
Yeah, I thought
in
it's
my
just something you
church.
put into a diffuser, right?
There's
I mean,
different grades. There's the
Yeah.
edible
yeah.
kind that you can
Yeah.
eat, and then there's the other,
Yeah.
the other kind you're not supposed to be putting on your skin at all. That ones that you put in the diffuser and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But there's,
yeah.
yeah, because like rose oil has some qualities to it and stuff. So, God, that's a whole
Yeah.
discussion.
I mean, if they're created for the skin and you read the ingredients and stuff, they should be fine. I'm fine with fragrance if it's a cleanser, because then you just like put it on and then you wash it off anyway. But don't leave like if it's like a moisturizer or something and it smells so good, bad.
Back off.
then you know there's got to
Back
be
off.
something wrong. Smells good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
skin, it's
Unnatural.
very delicate. It's very delicate. Your face.
Well, I can definitely see that you have a complete passion for this. So, so it is definitely more than just, hey, I can make money, but I can tell
Yeah.
you got a genuine interest in the chemistry and of all of this. So I think that's
Mhm.
important whenever you're trying to
Yeah.
find or get into some type of field, because like some people become nurses and they just aren't interested in people.
Yeah, and it's
You
so
just get
They're
bad,
interested in
right?
the Lexus that'll buy them, though.
Yeah, but
I
Oh,
see
right.
that.
it's like, you
Oh
know,
my god.
Yeah, there's
but
And
it's
then,
even
oh my
doctors.
god.
there's way too many
Yeah,
nurses
so
that shouldn't be nurses.
what
Just
was
saying.
that?
There's way too many nurses that shouldn't be nurses.
Right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can tell which
Yeah.
ones are there to actually, do their work
Well,
and
I guess it's just
help
like
people.
in any profession. There's the people who are really deeply passionate and love that work, and then there's people in it for the money. Think of police officer, for example. I was one, so I think I could at least
Ooh.
fairly say that. Yeah, there are people there because it paid well. But then I
Yeah.
also work with people who are deeply passionate about the community and how how overall their contribution into the community. Um, and the majority were much more passionate. But I don't know now. It seems like morale might be way down in a lot of departments right now.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys in Canada, but like in, let's say, in places like Oakland, which is just right over the across the bridge, like
Mhm.
places like that, man. Even though they're desperate for cops, for people to join, but they're way understaffed. And
Calgary
Why?
too.
What's that?
Calgary is way understaffed too.
Is it because what's the crime rate out there?
It's not high, to be fair, it's not high, but
Uh-huh.
they still need more than they have, for sure. And it's
Yeah.
been like it's been difficult for them to hire people. So then I've seen like some of the rookies that they had, and they're like, okay, because we're desperate, kind
Oh
of thing.
no.
I don't want to be I don't want to be
Sounds like
judgmental,
a
but like,
That's when they
no-go,
start
huh?
lowering the standards and shit and be like,
Uh-oh.
okay, I guess
yeah,
we
exactly.
I saw his psych evaluation, but maybe he can grow out of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Man.
Oh
No,
my
no
god.
go.
No
No
go. Yeah,
go.
no, no go.
No
No
go.
go. Not
It's
good.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
dangerous.
It is dangerous. Yeah.
Calgary is also a
Yeah.
different
But you
place, like
definitely have a
compared
passion
to
for
here.
this profession, which is kind of exciting to me because we've been talking to people as our series of people who are really passionate about what they do, and
Hmm.
especially as they come as Igorot people. We want to inspire people with that which you're passionate about, simply because we want to lift each other up. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I also want to know about my skincare. Like, how do I get rid of that like age spot right there? Is that possible to get rid of?
I see an Igorot
Can you
YouTube
see it?
channel on skincare coming out pretty soon.
Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah. I mean,
the one thing I learned about skin is it's very personal. So it doesn't, like like maybe I could reach out to people because I'm Igorot, like to more Igorot people just because I'm Igorot, but
Yeah.
it's like skincare is very personal. Like it's like I can't, well, with the knowledge I have now, I can't really tell you how to fix your age spot. But is that like it's not a mole or anything, right? It's just like a
I
dark
think
spot.
that's
They
definitely
call
like
them liver
dark spot.
spots. So like the age spots, as you get older, a lot of folks say that the age spots come from like how well the liver even detoxes as you get older. So it reflects what's happening in the internal Okay, first of all, it's because I my field was actually traditional Chinese medicine, and so we learned Western medicine,
Oh,
nutrition, body work, and all herbs and all this stuff. So I'm kind of
cool.
down your alley in terms of like uh what I've learned. But
Hmm.
you'd have the hard like Western science probably behind it. But then
Yeah.
yeah, they say like liver spots, like anything internal, as
Hmm.
things get older, they don't work
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
it reflects onto the outside, right? So that's why skin is amazing, because like it's one way to diagnose things. Like how
Mm,
people can
yeah.
track moles. People can track
Hmm.
moles, and sometimes like you can find out like, oh shoot, this might lead to a condition in the future. Those kind
Right,
of
right.
things. Yeah.
Oh,
How did you get
Yeah.
interested in this stuff?
me?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I think I stumbled upon like a YouTube channel actually.
Just like that.
No, oh no, I know. It's because my skin started to like get so oily for some reason. It just got like it was just so oily somehow, and then I was like, oh my god, like this is so annoying. This is so embarrassing in public too. You know, it's like so shiny. Anyways, and then I found like a YouTube channel, and then it's actually it started with like a vegan YouTube channel. And she's a
Oh,
dietitian,
okay.
There you go.
and she was a dietitian
Interesting.
Yeah.
that graduated from UBC or something, and then she was talking about skincare, and then from there it kind of like snowballed. Yeah,
But are you vegan too?
no,
I
no,
was about to get really surprised if you were. I'm like, geez,
No,
how do you
no.
handle the parties, the Filipino parties?
Yeah. How do you go to
No.
Igorot party when they say, "Hey, they're pinikpikan"?
Yeah, exactly. Did you eat?
Sorry,
You eat again?
no vegetarian pinikpikan.
I think that's the one of the next kind of. We should find some
Vegetarian
vegetarians and see. That'd be the next
I'll put the
interview.
tofu up there so it will ferment.
So actually, at the beginning of the year, I tried to be vegan, which, well, not completely,
I remember.
but like for like during the week, 5 days out of 7, I'd be vegan.
That's great.
And it was okay. And then I went to Philippines, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna be vegan for the Philippines because that's gonna be impossible. So I haven't
It's
been
hard,
since,
right?
but
It's hard to do it.
it's hard with the Filipino diet for sure.
No.
Good food,
Oh,
man.
man.
Good food, good meat.
But you know, it's interesting because a lot of times before, I mean, we got very westernized in our diet. I mean, it was what? I mean, we were eating a lot more natong,
Mhm,
kamote. I mean, that was our thing. And then there's
Yeah.
rice and then every once in a while you get the chicken and the fish, you know. But
mhm.
and then only party time do you get the carabao meat, right?
Yeah.
So,
Or the
or the
pork.
the pig.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
doubt that like I'd say that. I mean, what's interesting if you look at pictures of our ancestors and stuff and how like muscular they were, but I'd
Mhm.
say like 80 to maybe even 90% of the diet was actually um uh vegetarian, you know,
Yeah,
and maybe
for
with very light
sure.
meat like chicken and
Yeah.
fish, right?
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
at least that's what
Yeah.
my parents
Yeah.
tell me. But you look at
Yep.
these old folks. Well, they were they were young when they took these pictures in the early 1900s, and they're like, man,
Yeah.
dude, like tons of muscle. So they were getting
Yeah.
that protein from like a lot of the kamote, the yams and stuff. And,
Yeah, for sure.
Kamote.
And they
yeah,
were like they were all farmers. They
Yeah.
all did like physical work, right? So it's
Mhm.
not like they don't sit around like we do.
So they're
like I
getting
do.
that sweat out, right? They're getting that sweat,
Exactly.
cleaning their
Yeah.
pores and stuff. You know.
Yeah.
Well, even worse now during COVID time because all we do is sit down in front of everyone. Like I don't even move to teach my classes anymore. I just sit in front of a screen and hey, and watch my students in front of a screen sitting down, and we're all sitting down.
That's the way,
Oh,
man.
man.
Unfortunately, we just I don't know, man. We got to sweat. They say you got to sweat at least once a day. You got to sweat at least once
Yeah.
a day to clean the skin. You know. You never heard of that?
I'm sweated today. I'm thinking, am I sweated today or not?
Did I sweat today? Yeah.
No, that's just true. When I don't work out, that it's very easy for the pores get clogged, and then I mean it just the systems get all clogged up, and so when the next time you work out, you get all pimples and breakout and stuff.
You know,
That's why you have to wash yourself after a workout.
Oh, that's
yeah, you
good,
gotta take a
that's
shower,
good.
man.
Thank you.
Can't live this
Oh, that,
lockdown
Like you
lifestyle.
or like and just wash your face. Like you don't have to. You don't have to shower right
Oh,
away. Just wash your
you mean I
face.
have to do that after? Oh my gosh.
Bringing this kind of back to an Igorot thing.
Yeah.
Just curious, like from your perspective, like like just in general, like because Igorots have been stereotyped as they were often confused with Negritos by other lowland Filipinos.
Mhm,
And so
mhm,
people always say, hey, you're not dark. You can't be Igorot and stuff. So when it comes to skin, skin health,
mhm,
but also like the brownness or the lightness of the skin,
mhm.
is there something in regards to like Igorot people, like as far as from your experience and perspective that like, um, you feel maybe some of our people might have, I don't know, a sensitivity or maybe be a little bit more conscious about that, like what people say or whatnot?
Hmm.
Um, I feel like throughout the years we learned to just like ignore. Like we're really good at like ignoring or like not what's it called? If they uh okay, we're not good with confrontation. So then when people come up to us and be like, "Oh, you're not, not dark. Like you don't look like an Igorot," like I read in the
Yeah.
textbooks.
So you've
Um
gotten that before, right? You've gotten
I
that.
haven't. Luckily, I have not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you've
It's
heard of it.
I think I've had like a side comment though that they were like, "Oh, are you sure?" That kind of thing, and I was
Are
like,
you sure?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I know where I came from,
How do you know
And
you're Igorot?
exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Um, but we're really good at like not like we're very non-confrontational. So I feel like if there's something that comes up, we talk about it in bebop parties, but we don't
Hmm.
educate the person that told us, like actually,
oh, yeah, yeah.
right? Like, yeah. And so like and also like as Igorots, we're pretty what's it called, conscious about like skin. Like you have to be light, you can't get darker, that kind of thing,
Oh
And
So
wow.
so like
that's
a
there
lot
as
of us
well.
are, yeah, and a lot of us are offended when they're like, "Oh, you're darker, you got darker." And you're like,
Oh
"No, I
wow.
didn't," that kind of thing, you know
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's not it's I think it's a bigger conversation that needs to be had, just because I don't think everyone really cares for it or talks about it. And I mean, like, it's
Mm.
fine, there's nothing wrong um with being, what's it called, oh my god, what's the word, with being called like, "Oh, like I thought you would be like darker or like negro." Like there's nothing wrong with the shade. It's just
Mhm.
it's just not who we are, right? As a people, it's
Yeah,
not, you know so it's like we're very misrepresented in that aspect, right?
right,
Because we look
right.
very different, and they have their own culture too, right? And I'm sure they don't want to be called Igorots because they're not, right? They're
Mhm.
Negritos. So
Well, their
like I feel like
attachment to that word is a little bit different than our attachment. For them,
exactly,
it's like an
exactly,
insult, and for us, it's like,
yeah,
yeah, that's right.
Hmm.
That's who we are.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. So then, I don't know. It's a bigger conversation to be had, I think, with both parties, because there's some miscommunication, right? Because like they
Mm.
think it's bad to be an Igorot, and then we get we get like there's like a misconception about how we like look versus how
Yeah,
we actually look, right? So
right, right. I mean, it's
yeah,
interesting because I think.
but
Oh, yeah. Go on. Sorry. Go ahead.
I forgot. Go ahead.
No, I was saying what's interesting is I think that most my observations that Igorots come in so many different shades.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because well, historically, like people have been coming up the mountain, and like what we consider like what we know as Igorot, you know coming from Taiwan, could have been
Mm,
people also mixing with some of the lonelanders who moved up when the Spaniards came because they didn't want to be around the
mhm,
Spaniards. So you're gonna
mhm.
get this complete mix of different shades, and I think it's really interesting because I would say, and I don't know what you think about this, but like I would say most of the attitude of a little bit of the older generation tend to be like they don't want to be dark.
Yeah.
But I would say a lot of the younger generation, they're like, "Man, I want to be as brown as I can be,"
Yeah.
That's the
Hmm.
variance that I've seen between older generation and younger generation. And and
That's
and
true.
is there a difference between people like let's say the folks in the diaspora versus folks staying in the Philippines as far as like people being proud of their skin color in terms of like shade or whatnot?
Um, I think so, for sure. I think there is a difference. Like I think us outside of the Philippines don't care as much
Mhm.
But there are also some younger people, like at least from the ones that I've met, like the youth here, they have parents. Some of them have parents that are like, oh, like you can't get dark, and so they grew up with that mentality, right?
Right.
So then it's
Right.
not their fault, right? That they
Oh,
think that way,
right.
and then sometimes they grow out of it, but sometimes they don't, and so they just like that's the they stay in that mentality that the people in the Philippines have.
Mm.
But for sure, in like generally speaking, we don't care. The ones outside don't care as much for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
So when you came to Canada, how much of a culture shock was it for you?
Actually, the decision was almost put up to me because the original plan was that I move over here and stay for 2 weeks, just to like land as a landed immigrant. And then I was going to be allowed to go back to the Philippines and finish high school and come back here. But then they kind of like they made it so much fun here, like it's just so much more
Oh
fun
wow.
in BC in Burnaby at the time. And so and then I was 14, so I was like, oh my god, it's so much fun, such good food. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll stay.
What was more fun? Because they,
Wow.
the slogan that says it's more fun in the Philippines.
I was just gonna say that.
What's it? So what was it
Oh
that
boy.
kind of like that was different for you in terms, like that made it more exciting or fun for you to stay there?
um I mean, like, because the place was beautiful and like it seemed like things were in abundance,
Oh,
like compared in the
mhm,
Philippines.
mhm.
And like growing up young and growing up with a parent, like it's been like very hard to see like the abundance part of it, right? And so like it,
Mhm.
it was such a like it was very mabango, it was
Mm.
very
Mm.
Smelled good.
like just that short
Fresh.
period of
Yes.
time. And I'm sure my cousins like you were, we're thinking of like, it's just better to like finish high school here and like, the future is just better. And so they really tried to like make it, good here and fun here. So then I mean it's not a bad thing. Like, I
No,
don't
no, no,
regret
no.
it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've
So
seen.
you believe then it was a blessing then for you to
Yeah,
come
for
over.
sure. For sure. Yeah. Like I don't know what would have been different if I
Mhm.
went back and finished high school and came back. It's like a 2 year thing. So I don't know if it would have made much of a difference. So
A lot of times we talk about our ancestors, and
Mhm.
I'm curious how, in what way do you feel that the ancestors were watching you in your current path, or do you have any stories to share in terms of like that feeling of because I know you did, even though your parents weren't around, um
Mhm.
your ancestors, for a lot of us, we
Mhm.
believe our ancestors were there supporting us, almost like guardian angels, in
Mhm.
some ways.
Mhm. Mhm. I don't think I really thought about that in depth. Like I think I thought about
Mm,
it in passing for sure, especially
mm,
when like in bebop gatherings or like there are elders at the house like visiting and stuff like that and they talk about it, like it's definitely something that I did think about in passing. But the bigger picture for me is like I was 100% sure that I was led like here on purpose, you know
oh,
something did lead me here on purpose. And I
mm,
have I have thought about, like God, because sometimes you do go to church, and I did think about like the ancestors and stuff. I did think about like, my parents, like probably like, guiding it and stuff like that. And the one interesting thing was my cousin pointed it out in BC was when I was born, the first language that my mom taught me. So my first language is English.
oh yeah,
So
Oh,
I've been taught English since I was
yeah,
born.
yeah,
Yeah.
wow,
yeah.
And so then when I moved here when I was 13, the transition was much easier in terms of communication. right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so I was able to socialize better than other kids. I didn't have to go to ESL. I didn't have to, all these things. So it just,
Yeah.
I feel like it just led to like an easier transition for my life in the Philippines and my life here.
Oh, so that goes along with Jay's question.
Wow.
Kind of like like that feeling of culture shock, but like
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
talking about adapting a little bit,
yeah.
But it seems like you were almost set up to make that adaptation. And I know that
Right.
in many ways, especially with families with a little bit of means to be able to do that, there is almost like a setup. Hey, you know what? Your life will be better overseas.
Hmm.
And if you could get it into like North America or Australia
UK.
or UK,
Yeah.
Europe, those would be your best options.
Right,
And
right.
and it's interesting that you were already being set up in some way. And I don't
Hmm.
know how intentional. I mean, your mom could have been. Who would have known what the
Yeah,
future would be? But there was some sort of
exactly.
intention about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was an English teacher, so that's like,
Ah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that kind of helps too, right?
yeah,
Just a quick question about that, because one of the
yeah.
things that like especially the older generation of Igorots and my observations is that just this is most Igorots tend to speak better English than the rest of the Philippines.
Hmm.
And a lot of Igorots pride themselves in that, and that has a lot to do
Hmm.
with colonization, right? And the educators
Yeah,
that came up to the Cordillera.
yeah.
I mean, like, so that really did help. I know you already said it, but I guess that whole ability to speak English,
Hmm.
and not Carabao English, but like decent
Hmm.
English,
Hmm.
was
Yeah,
it seemed like it helped in your yeah, it must have helped in your transition. Um,
yeah. It helped
Where
a
did your
lot.
mom teach?
She taught in Busao, St. James High School.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
is English
And
still
Mhm.
sorry?
Yeah,
Is English still like a major part? Because I remember in the Philippines for a while they like, was it the mid '90s or something like that, where they were getting into this real nationalistic kind of thing, and they didn't want to teach English anymore. But I guess in the
Yes, they
mountain province
stopped teaching in
they
some
kept
schools.
on going,
yeah.
right? Yeah, because
No,
I
they do still teach English.
Mhm.
And then, however, like a lot of the subjects that used to be taught in English is now taught in the mother tongue
In
of
Cantonese
that.
or of
Yeah,
the
or
local
like
area.
or Tagalog or like Ilocano or like whatever language
Yeah.
is more, um more comfortable in that space. But
Hmm.
a lot of the textbooks have changed, like science and math textbooks, they're in Tagalog.
I see. I see.
Hmm.
Is that do you think that's helpful, or is I mean that's
Um,
good for indigenous pride, I think, but or maybe
yeah,
local pride, but
yeah, for sure. I think it helps keep the the language, right? That we have, the dialects that we have, it helps keeps it. Because in the Philippines, especially in like in the Philippines in general, it's like, oh, if you don't speak English, you might not be smart, that kind of thing, right? So it kind of eradicates that stigma of not being able to speak English, because a lot of people think that you have to speak smart. Sorry, you have to speak English to like be smart, kind of thing.
mm,
So it helps that.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's interesting in the diaspora is, like, most of us who kind of what year or what age did you come again? 13, did you say?
Yes, yes.
13. Oh, okay. Because we were talking about folks who came at a younger age who were about like 8 years old. Because
Ooh, yeah,
at 13, you're like you're everything in terms of your bilinguality, I guess,
yeah.
was kind of already solidified
Formed, yeah,
formed by that age. But a lot
yeah,
of kids who come in like at um age 8, uh, they lose it, you know?
yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah, I know quite a bit of people who came at like a younger age,
Mhm.
and they did forget to speak the language. But I also don't blame them for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like, especially at that age,
Yeah.
they're very impressionable, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then when they go to school, they try everything to fit in. Like they want everyone to like them, right? They're new, they look different, and then they speak different too. Like, no, like I have to change this, right? So then they like fight to not speak it, and then they forget.
Yeah.
And then not knowing that like, oh, like you might regret it later, like, you know, they wouldn't know that, and the parents are busy, you know, busy working 2-3 different jobs to like to really like keep it, you know, for the kids and stuff like that. And
Right.
even like the parents also like speak English at work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then when they come back, it's like it almost becomes natural, right?
Yeah.
Also a funny thing, the parents also like might like that they forget it sometimes, because then they can speak the language and the kids won't understand, and it's like
Yeah, you get the we definitely know about that. Like you know, the parents get the special secret language so they can talk about them. That's the one disadvantage I feel about raising my kids is like, man, I wish that we could kind of like, you know, talk about them in front of their face without them knowing. Oh man, that's wrong. But
can you guys speak?
we like when we were younger, our grandparents would
English,
speak.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, English.
Great, good to know.
For my brother and I, our grandparents spoke to us a lot in the language, you know, but mainly it's
Ilocano
yeah,
mostly.
it's mainly Ilocano and a mix. It's like but it's the Igorot Ilocano, you know, the mixed kind of bago they
the
call it,
fake
right?
the fake
Yeah.
Ilocano.
The fake Ilocano with the Igorot accent, you know what I mean? So like all the
Yeah, because
Ilocano
we talk
people,
too slow.
yeah, and
Bago
all
We
the
talk
Ilocano.
slow.
and then when you talk to the Ilocano people, they'll be like, why
Yeah.
is he pronouncing his E like that?
Yeah.
Why is he pronouncing his E's all weird and using H instead of S or something like, you
Yeah.
know? So I mean that confused me for a long time when I was a kid. You know, I didn't
Yeah.
understand how come
Yeah.
they speak
Yeah.
a little bit. But yeah, you know, our parents, it's not I don't think they were necessarily trying to keep the language from us, but I think it was more because during when we were younger, there was you know, the one thing that our parents didn't want to deal with is another layer of BS, you know, racism, right? So one of
Yeah.
the things they wanted us to deal with, I mean, to do is just to try and adapt as much as you could. So they would say like,
Yeah.
you know, like the
Yeah.
old folks will always say this, and they're proud when they say, "In Rome, do what the Romans do," you know. And
Yeah.
now that I'm older and have my own kids, I'm always like, man, you know, everybody's getting jobs who's bilingual and you know they have better brain development when you're bilingual. It's like, you know, you just wish that we kept on going because we of course we know all the bad words and we know most of like the grammar and understanding, but when
Yeah.
my brother, he speaks it much better than me, but like for me it's especially like here in the UK now, like when I'm listening to pure kankanai, I'm
Mhm.
it's kind of weird because like when I hear it, I'm trying to find what's the Ilocano word of that. You know, like and trying to
That's good
translate through
too, though.
Ilocano to English, you know, and
Yeah.
but then I don't know. I gotta find a linguist, another someone who can help me out with this, you know, over time.
Yeah,
That's a whole nother discussion
I think
that
everybody
we
has
Oh yeah.
their own story of how they lost it or whichever. Because I mean,
yeah.
like in my case, I never really learned Kankanai or anything like that. Even like maybe I knew some simple Ilocano, but I mostly knew Tagalog because growing up we were mostly around Tagalog speaking
Mm.
people.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But even that I lost when I came to Canada because I was encouraged by ESL to just speak English even at home.
Right.
Mm.
So that's where I mostly lost. I mean, I can
Oh, they
understand it.
encourage really to speak English even at home.
Yeah. So
They tell you that.
just to improve it. So
practice.
and
Yeah,
that was
that's what
a
happened
long time ago. So
Yeah,
they must have changed their
I think
processes now. But
this was in the 90s.
yeah, but I mean, I can understand. But yeah, it's just speaking and then that recall is quite slow. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the
I
same
know
story
what
with
my
Gerald. Because
Mhm.
yeah, when I was taking ESL, we were basically like told to not speak our native language and just strictly speak English. That way
Holy.
we can we can adapt
Learn it
quicker.
faster.
Just progress
Yeah,
faster.
yeah,
Uh,
and what's it called? Assimilate quicker. That was my experience.
Yeah. Yeah. My parents definitely they were a lot more on the learning English and learning English well, because I mean it seems like they wanted us to integrate more. They felt like that would be the way to combat the racism of America,
mm,
is mastery of the language. Uh,
mhm,
and so that's partially, there's a truth in it, that there's a partial truth in that. It's not the wholeness, of course, because obviously,
mhm.
kind of skin color makes a difference.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Yes.
just another like little thing about the language thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
my sister's pretty like headstrong with like the culture, with our culture and who she is and stuff like that. She didn't
Mhm.
change her last name to her husband's. Her husband's is Igorot too, but she didn't change her last name to her husband's. And both her kids, her daughter was born in Texas. Her son was born here.
Mm.
They both speak Kankanaoi fluently because
That's
it's the only
awesome.
language that we speak in the house.
Mhm.
Oh wow,
So
that's
yeah,
impressive.
Yeah,
yeah.
I
that's
was
very
gonna ask
impressive.
you,
I like that.
because you mentioned to me before the languages you speak. So
Mhm.
what do you speak?
Um, English, Kankanaoi, like Busao Kankanaoi, Ilocano, and Tagalog.
Mhm.
Quite like
Ilocano
like
and Tagalog.
I
Kwa.
probably need help with Ilocano, but
Yeah.
That's 4 languages, right? Jeez.
yeah.
And
That's
they are
that's
languages,
And
very
not just
good.
dialects.
and if I have to say so, I taught myself Korean.
Oh my god, my daughter will love you
Oh.
For the
now.
K dramas?
Oh wow,
My
are you
daughter
doing
is
the K-pop thing? Is that how you learned it?
oh,
The drama
Yeah,
lore.
my daughter is big into the
that was
K-pop,
high school.
man. Seriously. Oh
That
my
was high
god.
school.
See,
Worldwide.
oh
Oh, she's gonna want to meet you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh
Okay,
I
I'll
get
tell
Are you
kind
a
of
I'll tell
BTS
when
fan
when school
also?
is done.
sometimes I get pissed off
Yeah.
at her, and I say to her, I say to my daughter, hey, for every Korean word you learn, you better learn at least 2 Filipino words. I don't care if it's Ilocano, Kakanai, or
Really? She has a
Tagalog.
Korean lectionary already?
No,
She
no.
has a
Well, when
lectionary
you're
of
singing the
Korean?
songs, you have to learn some of the Korean, right? So, like,
Does she know what it means?
probably not. But if I've asked her with some songs, she's looked at the translations. She just doesn't know what matches up, and they sing in and
Mm,
out, right? So you're a
yeah,
big
yeah.
K-pop fan
Yeah.
then?
Yeah, yes. Like I in high school I was like really like K-pop was like like K-dramas and
Wow.
everything.
Wow.
So that's where I did it. And then I stopped for like a few years because life happened. And then just recently I'm like, you know what? Like it's a skill. Like learning another language
Yeah.
is a skill. So
Is
So
I
that
kind
what
of like
mostly
sort of picked up.
is
doesn't it
K-pop?
bother you a little bit that there's no P-pop? Just I mean K-pop, what happened to like
Okay, we don't do well with P-pop. We're good with ballads. We're good with alternative
ballads?
rock. We're we're good with not pop. No, we're not. We don't do pop very well.
Country. We do country though.
We
Igorot
do
people,
country.
country,
Like
You know,
country, folk songs.
Well,
No, we
and the
got that
thing is
voice
that
for it.
Igorot tastes are different than some of the other Filipino tastes. You know what I mean? So
oh, yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah.
when you talk about pop, if you go down to Manila, you'll hear all those bands, man. They can do like they
Are
can
they
play like
mimicking the
any
Koreans? That's
pop
what I
song.
want to know. Are they doing like the
Oh
Korean?
my god,
If they're doing karaoke on Korean music already,
Oh,
then I don't know.
they do. They are. Yeah.
No.
But we
yeah.
don't do it well. Like
Oh,
in
okay.
our own language when we like produce these like groups. It's we don't do it well at all. No.
I hear there's one boy band that's being produced in Korea though. Filipino boy band. Boy
What?
band. Yeah,
Ew.
there's one.
Why?
Because it's a
Why?
market. It's a market. That's right. That's why they have one. They have a Chinese boy band that's being also produced by Koreans, and also a Filipino boy band that's being produced by Koreans because they just see it as a market to get
You know
into.
their name?
True.
Man, I can't wake up my kid right now. She's asleep, but like she would definitely know the name. I can't remember it, man.
Oh my God!
But when I
Why?
listened to it, I was like,
Wow, we have just imitated the Koreans.
Interesting. I
Man.
have to look this
You
up.
know, they tried to
We're
push.
very good at imitation, Manong. We are
They
very
tried
good
to
at
push
imitation.
That's
Carrot
true.
Top
That's
to
true.
be Carrot Top. Sorry, not Carrot Top. Carrot Man.
Carrot?
They tried to make a boy band with Carrot Man. You know that
no.
they were trying to push that.
Oh,
Yeah, I saw it. I was like,
why?
oh my god, like what is this,
What?
man?
Wow.
Yeah, Carrot
What
Man.
happened?
Wow.
They, I don't. He can't sing. So why is he in a boy band?
He's not. He's
He's not
literally
very
popular for his
talented.
nose.
He's sorry. He's not very talented. Like I've seen him
We're gonna have to
do
edit that part out.
karaoke. I'm sorry. It's just the truth, man. Like
He's,
I
he's
love him,
only known.
but he's
He's
not
only
very
known for
talented.
his nose. Like, there's no other reason why
Exactly,
he's
his
popular.
looks.
It's his
Because
nose.
he's not an ugly Igorot, therefore he's popular.
Yeah,
But like other
exactly.
than that, like I remember seeing him try to dance the taiyao, he can't even dance it. Like
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
because I think he's mainly. Is he from Barlig? I forgot.
I don't know.
For those that don't
Uh,
know who Carrot Man is, can somebody give a quick explanation of his discovery and who he is, what he is, why he was discovered?
Okay. So he was discovered because a journalist, I think a Tagalog journalist or just one of those journalists saw him and
He was
took
like
a
a
picture
model,
of him.
right?
Yeah, well, this is how it
Pick up.
started. He's a farmer, right? So he was
Mhm.
carrying
He's
his
just doing his job.
carrots. He was carrying his carrots, and then they took a picture of him, and then people were like, the picture went viral because they're like, "Hey, he's Igorot," and a lot of it had to do with his nose because his nose tends to be pointer because he's more from like far eastern mountain province on that side. I think I forgot if he's either from Parasilis or Barlig. I can't remember, but like yeah, then the picture just got really popular, and then that's how he got known. And then like Igorot folks, I mean, he came over here to England. He came here to the UK. I met the guy, I even danced with him. We
What?
did we did the eagle dance. I did the eagle dance
Isn't
with
he like
him.
tiny?
Huh?
Isn't he tiny?
He's quite
Like
short.
short?
Yeah, he's skinny too. Skinny. But
Was he there when I was there?
no, it was maybe wait, what year did you come here, Jay?
16, 17.
Oh, so no, I think it was 2018 or well, could have been 17. I can't really remember now. It was either 2018 or 2017. And yeah, he's quite short. I thought he would be taller just from the pictures and stuff. But like he's a nice guy and everything like that. It's just kind of an odd kind of thing because he's being marked in one sense. There's a sense of pride because it's like, oh yeah, hey, Igorot people. They're talking about Igorot
Mhm.
people in mainstream media in the Philippines, right? And then at the same time,
Mhm.
there's this other part that's making you question, well, why is he so popular? Because his nose is pointy and more European than our typical Filipino noses, or so it makes you kind of go like,
He does.
So
He
for
does
the
look
Okay,
good.
and then
Very true.
and
yeah,
then
right.
what?
So it makes you kind of go and like this weird fame that's come around it, and when you see him, it's like everybody just wants to he's like this, like everybody just taking pictures with him and stuff. And in a practical sense, hey man, it's made him some money because he's been able to tour and do a little bit of modeling, and
Mhm.
it helps him and his family. So right on with that. He's gotta do his hustle.
Mm.
If
Yeah,
enjoy it while it lasts, right?
Yeah,
that
you
kind of
definitely
thing.
got to hustle,
Exactly.
and
Yeah,
hey, that's pretty awesome. Carrot Man has a gazillion followers, man.
yeah. Well, a lot
Uh,
of
his name is
people.
What?
J-Rick. J-Rick.
Jarek, yeah, that's his real name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jarek, what's his last name? Sigmaton.
But that's the
Mhm.
thing. If any one of us were like farmers doing our farming stuff
Yeah,
got discovered
yeah.
like that, what would you do?
Yeah, you'd ride it. You'd ride
Hustle,
that pony.
hustle.
Absolutely.
Come on, you gotta hustle.
Exactly.
I mean, and take advantage of it. I mean,
True.
gosh.
But
Oh,
it
hey,
is-
I got the video of him being in the UK.
Yeah. I'm dancing with him. That should be me.
That's
But
you.
doing the eagle dance.
Oh,
Yeah, that's me. Anyways,
yeah.
like, yeah, but just kind of when you think about like for the same thing he's getting famous for. At the same time, it's like it makes you, at least it opens up kind of an interesting discussion, at least amongst us, at least our generation of it can open
Pretty
up that
awesome.
kind of discussion of like, well, what is it that they like? Like they could have picked
Mhm.
any Igorot person, but they picked him because just mainly because his features is not so typical Igorot, I guess. I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't even know what to say because there's a lot of Igorots with pointy noses. Look at Edel over there. He's got a pointier nose, and I think all of us.
Well, you got a pointy nose too, man.
Sorry,
Come
when
on.
I was growing up, yeah, in school, that's what all the people would like say about me. Like, oh yeah, you have your dad's nose, blah blah blah. Like, okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, my dad's family. I didn't get that.
Me too. My dad. Oh my god, let me show y'all. My dad would have been the carrot man.
Oh, let's see this.
Oh,
Just
dang.
I'm
The
bragging now,
OG
but
I want to
carrot
see. I want to
man.
see. I want to
My,
see.
my feeling
Yo,
though is
Mark,
that
Mark, you would have been like the,
I don't really.
you
got
would have been
that
the.
pointy nose. No,
No,
it's just
no,
not
you,
as.
you had it when you were young. You were like the because look at this nose.
Let's
No
not go
go.
there,
That's
please. Don't.
that's a no go. But you had
Me when I was
you
like
had
80
you had the
pounds
Grandpa
lighter.
Mariano features there. So you had like the pointy nose because he was the pointy nose guy in our
I
family.
didn't have a pointy nose, dude. Look at my nose. It's not pointy. It just
No, but you had like much more desirable.
more than yours. More than yours.
Yeah,
That's it.
I have the internalized oppression nose here.
That's so funny. Like, shit, man.
I'll
Yeah,
show you
man.
my parents.
The whole carrot man thing was definitely interesting.
Damn
I
it,
like
it's
it.
not clear.
Well, I'm
I
happy
think-
for him because if anything, it lifts up his life and lifts up his
Yeah.
family. Shoot, we need more of that in some other way. And if we could help each other out, even if it's like for that vanity out there, then
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's some stuff about it, and people could be jealous and whatever. But you know what? God bless him. God bless him. And the fact that he does share. I mean, he's out there dressing, even if he's not like the best Igor of dancer and all that. He's out there. He's out there in
Repping.
full uniform, repping us. Hey, and not saying that there's no such thing as full-blooded Igorot either, huh?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
God bless
for
him.
me, my grep isn't for him specifically. And yeah, sure. Just now I made fun of the fact that he can't sing or whatever. It's more so the situation around him and the people around him that's pushing him to do all these
Mhm.
things. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure
that's-
maybe he does want to join that boy
Mhm.
band. God bless him for it. But like, if he's being pushed just because of that clout, as opposed to
Mhm.
like who he actually is, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
the reason why he's famous
In
is
terms of
because
talent, you mean?
yeah. Because like the reason why he's famous is again, yeah, because of this. It goes against the expectations of what an Igorot is or whatever. Therefore, like he's been noticed in that sense. So they're trying to ride that wave, and,
Yeah.
and to me, it's not very like not so much ethical or anything. It just doesn't sound right. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
pushing him to a singing career because
Mhm.
that's the route of a pop star. Like,
Mhm.
I don't doubt
Yeah.
that he has the image of a pop star, but like, okay, so what? There's so much more talented people out there, like even in our bebop, that I personally
Mhm.
think would deserve a higher like position that he would be in. But like, it's just stupid that he's being pushed in that sense, pushed
Yeah.
in that way.
I have an aunt that mentioned because she works for like indigenous peoples, like an organization in the Philippines,
Mm.
and she said that why can't because she's sure there's a team behind him too, right? Like making him do all these things. So
Yeah.
she's like, why
Exactly.
can't these people educate him? Because I'm sure he doesn't know much about the culture itself. You know what I mean? Like he's been living life as a farmer,
Yeah,
and it's like
doing the
he's
job.
just
Yeah.
been living life as it is, right? It's not
Mhm.
like and he was uneducated, right? He wasn't going to school or anything. So then like why can't this team just educate him and then bring awareness? So then that's
I mean,
what he's representing. That's what he becomes,
that would
right?
be J-Rick's own initiative. I mean, remember Manny Pacquiao? And before,
That's true, but he's young. Like, what would he know?
I mean, Pacquiao
Exactly.
came from really dirt poverty, and I
That's
mean,
true.
and remember he used to show up after the matches, and well, I showed them my power, and we'd be
The
like, oh my
thing-
god,
the
with
thing
this
though
Carbo
is-
English, and now he's like dang articulate. He is so articulate, crazy
Yeah.
articulate. But he's
But
always
he
had
got
that
a good
articulate.
team.
He educated
He
himself.
he got a good team too, right? He was smart enough probably to. Can I show you my dad?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh yeah,
please.
yeah, yeah.
Let's see
Let's
if
see
it's
that.
clear.
Look at that
Let's see.
handsome guy. Oh my gosh. Damn. Actually, he
Oh,
kind of looks
man.
like him, doesn't he?
No, he
Is
doesn't.
that you? Is that you with the big
That's
ears?
me. That's the baby's me.
With the big ears?
The big ears, kid.
Yeah, shut up.
When they say the big
Nice.
ears means that they're smart. That's what they say.
That means that you're a good listener, like this.
Uh-huh. Like
Yeah,
that.
Yoda. I don't have them now. They're not. They are.
I'm hiding mine.
No, you grow into them. I don't know. My cousin Kenneth, like he used to have these really big. No, they weren't super big, but they were big, and he just grew into them. It was pretty interesting to kind of see that because I guess that's what you did too.
Kind of. Yeah, I think. I guess they're fine.
No, they're proportional.
They're fine now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Ido.
Going back to Pacquiao though, like yeah, he there is an age gap difference between like what Denai was saying. So you can't really like put the onus on him fully. Like he's still like even now he's still developing, right? He's still he's
Right.
younger than
He's
me.
very
so
young.
still-
Carrot Man's
Right.
very young.
He's,
Yeah.
he's only 26. 26.
Exactly.
He was
exactly.
very
He's
young when he was
still kinda like, yeah,
discovered.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
You talking about when Pacquiao was
I
discovered?
agree.
Oh, Pacquiao was also pretty young too when he started.
Yeah, he was like
out.
16. Who's 26 that you're talking about?
Jared.
Carrot
Carrot
Man. Jarek
I'm
Sigma.
totally lost now.
Who are you?
Okay.
Not Pacquiao.
No,
Definitely.
I was getting
not
mixed up
Pacquiao.
between Pacquiao. I'm
Oh,
like, Pacquiao's old now. He's in his 30s. He's 40
No,
now.
he's 40.
Yeah, he's
42
like 40,
or something
41
like
or
that.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
Okay,
there's
so you're talking
also
about Jarek. Okay.
there's also a big difference between like pure entertainment, being in pure entertainment, and then fighting. Like there is that entertainment factor with Pacquiao, but with Jarek it's just entertainment and
Exactly. It's
Mhm.
just image.
And yeah.
if
And with Pacquiao, it's like his skill to box, right?
Yeah,
so
at least-
all he's doing is boxing. Like
Exactly.
that's his. Yeah,
Well,
but
now
Jarek
he's-
is like
he's
his
with
face.
Senator, right?
yeah, with Jarek the
Oh my
team
God,
is
the team.
mostly focused just on money and like
Mm,
yeah, being able to market him and generate money as opposed to developing a skill and then marketing. So I think
Mhm.
there's quite a big difference with that.
Yeah.
So
In-
yeah,
In the entertainment world, especially when it comes to like pop music and stuff, things are kind of backwards. No, they look a lot of times they look at the look first. They look at the look, and then they develop you. So it's like
True.
that's how they work in the world of pop music. It's so it's not always about. Unfortunately, being a musician myself, I'm all about. Man, what about all these talented people? Why did they pick this dude or why did they pick that dude? But that's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately.
It's
And,
definitely who
they-
you know.
They're definitely
too.
seeing, yes, definitely who you know, and they're definitely seeing that in Jarek. We can market this dude. You know what I mean? But on the other side, um, it does make sense. Like if you have to create. I think when you at some point when you get the autonomy or whatever, you gotta
Mhm.
you gotta pick the team that will help develop you the best in whatever it is. So if
Yeah.
it's an entertainment, you gotta get the right people. If you also want to be intelligent, you gotta get those people as part of your team too.
Yeah.
So Pacquiao's development probably had to deal with the fact that, like, after a while, he started to realize, hey, I'm senator. I probably should work on my English, And so he
Well, he
added
wanted
that
to help
to the
people. That was his
spectrum, you know?
goal. Was to help
Yeah.
people, and the only way that he could help people was actually get himself educated somehow,
Right.
and articulate enough so that he could, talk to the corrupt people up there too, so he could deal with those people. And I remember,
Yeah.
like my parents, they'd be watching that Filipino channel stuff, and you hear
24/7.
when Pacquiao is going up against oh gosh, there's all bunch of hearings that are happening all the time. But when he goes up, you hear him, and he sounds really intelligent, and
It's a
he
lot
thinks
different than
about his
before.
thoughts.
Yeah.
It is a lot different than before. So you could see how this man has evolved and put the energy into his evolution. In addition to, training the way he was, especially during his heyday, during the peak of his
Mm.
power. He was pound for pound the best
Yeah.
fighter on earth.
Yeah.
And so
And so he educated himself like now that he's older, right? So he matured through the industry.
well, he
And
definitely
Carrot, and Carrot Man's just starting.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
hopefully
Yeah.
he's able to find that team that works best
Have
with
you
kids.
guys heard Jarek speak?
No.
Mark,
Yeah.
you probably
Have
have
you?
heard him, right?
have.
I've never heard him speak. I've never heard him speak at all.
And
Yeah.
He's not
no.
had a voice at all.
I've
except
heard him
for-
speak.
except
He's a quiet
right.
guy. He's a quiet guy.
Right,
He's very
right.
shy actually.
Mhm.
like an Igorot guy?
Typical Igorot man, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not about his voice though.
You know how he's humble. He has a humble characteristic to
Does
him.
he have
What
country
about-
voice?
Can he
you
sing
know?
though? Can he sing?
Oh,
Does
though?
he,
I
does
haven't-
he
That's different.
sing like
he did sing
He
that
can't
night.
sing. He did. Okay, so
He
how
did
was
sing
it?
that night. I think it was country music though. It was country.
yeah.
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 So, but as
So-
far as pop music, I'm surprised
Why-
that
yeah,
that
so why-
even happened. But like, I can see what they're going for. I mean, his face kind of looks like a lot of those Korean faces. Like he knows,
Yeah,
he looks
no,
like
that's the
K-pop
reason
in
why.
general. And, like,
That's
they're
the
picking-
reason why he's popular. That's the reason why he got so
Yeah.
popular. But again, into not compare the two, but like how Pacquiao became popular is he wanted to be good at boxing, and he
Yeah.
became good at boxing. Whereas Jarek, he was just doing his job, and then all of a sudden he's thrust into this world of images and trying to promote things, and like there's a clear difference between the two. You know what I mean?
But he's
Yeah,
he's
it's-
surrounded about next to some pretty talented people. I just saw like where he's touring in different places and
Who, Jarek?
yeah
Mhm.
like
I
I gotta see this, man.
well
That is
before
crazy.
up to the beginning of COVID he was in Hong Kong and
Yeah,
I'm looking
he
at
was in
his
Hong Kong.
and he's right next to all these other Igorot artists who like were probably in Baguio in that music scene. So he's probably learning from these people too, because
Let's
people
hope
are.
so. I hope so. I hope so.
No, you can't hang with those kind of people and not.
Yeah.
They would never let you into their club.
I mean, there is a huge talent pool of like Igorot singers.
Yeah.
We know this. Like, yeah, so he's gonna learn. I mean, well, it'll be interesting to see his evolution in terms of like, it'll make him or break him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
because as we saw from Arnold's interview, like entertainment business industry is not easy to get into, especially if you're Asian, Filipino, or whatnot. Man,
Yeah.
I gotta check that out, dude. So he, yeah, because when he came to us, he was not. It was just the total beginnings of what he was doing. It was just there was that whole fire because of that picture, and everybody was inviting, as a way to kind of help him out too, to
Yeah,
help support
yeah.
him. They were inviting him over to their Igorot functions, like all over Europe
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
the UK, just to, it helps out his family, but at the same time, like, he gets to partake in, and other Igorot folks kind of enjoy the fact that they're kind of next to this. I guess they can say, I don't know what they call it, but he's a celebrity, I guess.
National
Yeah.
celebrity.
National celebrity
yeah.
for Igorots, and
Yeah.
so people enjoyed it in that sense. But it was the part that I thought was weird is what it reminded me kind of like of the, like the 1904 St. Louis stuff in some sense, but we're doing it to our own people. When
Exactly.
he was just kind of had to be there and
True.
take all these pictures with everybody, and then like, but the whole time, I don't know if we discussed this before, but like, I don't know if people spent the time to even make a deep conversation with him, and I
Exactly.
didn't get a chance because he was like in and out, like well, we were also in and out as well. So,
Mhm.
but I know the people who did get the chance to know him really well was like most of the Bingit folks,
Oh.
who actually had sponsored him to come in.
Mm.
So, it is what it is.
Yeah,
But,
more power to our guy. I mean, that's
yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, he
Yeah.
does have a team. There's a team that works with him on his evolution. So he has hired a team, or maybe they hired him, or whatever.
Well, if he's
Uh,
part of a K-pop thing, then the whole K-pop industry, they have teams. They have teams of that develop people to have that
I don't think
cookie cutter kind of look, right? And
As
that's
far
part
as
of
I
the
know,
K-pop
that
thing.
I know that band, it never fell through because it was this whole thing where it was a boy band from the Philippines, from the different areas of the Philippines. So Jarek was supposed to represent the Cordilleras and then so on.
Interesting.
I think that's it. The boy band, because there was
So it was.
another band. There
Oh,
was
so they were getting
another,
people from every area in the Philippines to represent different areas.
yeah, and that was gonna be like this whole boy band, K-pop esque type thing, but Filipino.
Wow, that's interesting.
And I know there was another one. There was another Filipino or another Igorot celebrity that was in The Voice Philippines or whatever. He was gonna be part of a band as well, I think, but I could be wrong.
wow.
A lot of the Korean folks, man, they really see the Philippines as like their Hawaii, man. And
They do, yeah, like
yeah,
Palawan and
yeah.
Boracay. Yeah.
Oh,
But
well, they
they're
go up to
really
the
also
spa.
they're taking advantage of the human resources and learning English in the Philippines too.
No.
So I find that pretty interesting because English, most Filipinos amongst all the Asian groups probably speak better English, or at least American style English than.
That's why our call centers are there.
Yeah, I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It's unfortunate though that in the schools that was a time that some of our cousins were not learning their English, and so when they were taking the English test for their nursing to come over, no go.
yeah, because
My
they moved
God.
down to Pangasinan area. That's
Yeah,
why
yeah,
I kind of asked
yeah.
you that question, Danai, because I was wondering about like that time period where they kind of slowed. Well, they were being more nationalistic and not wanting to teach English in some areas, and
Mm.
where they're from in Pangasinan, they weren't teaching English in the schools.
Yeah.
So,
English, like typically, as much as possible, they want English just to be for the English language subject,
uh-huh.
and then all the other subjects are like in the mother tongue or Tagalog.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But that won't get them overseas if that's what their goal might be. They have to
Yeah.
really study harder. And
Yeah.
if the Philippines doesn't really improve I mean, there is a brain drain issue that then comes about when you get all your people moving around. But I mean, reality is that that's where the money comes from. You go into the areas that are a little bit built up. Like last time I was in the Philippines, we went to my parents' area in San Gabriel, La Union, and it's built up. It's really built up, but that's overseas money. That's
Mhm.
everyone who's come on
Yeah, it's
overseas,
everywhere.
who's
Yeah.
built
For
the big
sure.
house that then your relative is there maintaining for you, and God bless them that they're there. But
Yeah.
but that's what you see out there is a lot that even if you go into the mountain areas, that's the same thing too. You'll see that overseas money coming in, and that's of course
Mhm.
that's what the Philippine economy is based on right now
Yeah.
is overseas worker money.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
Sure.
Are you sending money back home?
No,
Well,
I'm not.
because
yeah.
all your immediate relatives are here now. Where does your brother live?
He's in Nanaimo, BC.
The island,
Oh,
nice. What does your
Mhm.
brother do?
He's a nurse.
Okay.
Of course.
All right.
so 2 out of
Nice.
3 on the nursing department there, huh?
That's pretty good.
Awesome.
Is there a little bit inside of you that feeling of like, I don't want to copy what my brother and sister are doing? Is there a little bit of that, or it's just you're
Well,
not?
I think there's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
because I
okay.
think because I think I know it's not their passion. It's not their first choice.
Mhm.
But when we were younger, it was like, it was the only way out,
Yeah, totally. It's
So then it's the best choice.
Practical.
But
Yeah.
it's not what they want. So now that like here, they don't encourage it.
Oh, we make sacrifices for the greater good.
They do it and they do it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They do it and they do it well, but they don't like especially encourage me, or like my sister doesn't encourage her kids, unless of course it's something that they would be passionate in doing.
Mhm.
Like not in the way that she did or that they did.
No,
So
I would encourage them to do it so that they have a solid income base, so they're not struggling. And then whatever they're passionate about, then that's your side hobby, and monetize a living so that you can contribute into a much more solid, economic base there. And no, really, did I just say that?
You're talking about what I'm
Yeah, you
doing
sound
right
like
now.
you sound like an old person, dude.
I know, dang,
Something I agree with though. Like,
Well,
gosh,
you're
no,
saying
I-
it so sarcastically.
I don't know.
But,
Here's the
yeah,
thing,
Gerald
though.
was saying.
Like coming from a nurse, I would definitely agree. If you don't want to do it, don't do nursing, because it's gonna legit like kill your soul. Like, not even joking. So, yeah, if you really want to do it for sure, and
Yeah.
do it well. But if you don't, if
Yeah.
it's just for the money, man, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are a lot more lucrative.
It's not good for you. It's not good for the patients. It's people's lives, man. Like you
Just
gotta.
be a cop.
There's
I'm joking.
maybe, why not?
But yeah.
No, I mean, there's money elsewhere. You
You
can
get
find
ma-
money elsewhere. So
that's a tough gig. It's definitely challenging. It's more challenging, I think, nowadays than ever before.
Oh yeah.
Well, because to be fair, like, what are the other alternatives, right? Like, Jokwai's talked about it. We've talked about this. What are some other alternatives for young
Physical
Filipinos?
therapist.
there's lots.
Physical
Yeah.
therapist.
Well, this is why we're doing this
occupational
whole
therapist.
interviews to hear other Igorots in the diasporas, like their
Absolutely.
life choices and the choices that they're making, like whether or not they pick something out of practicality, whether they pick it out of passion. Like I think that Igorot folks in the diaspora, especially young folks, need to just hear these stories, because then like we've talked about it before, like when people if you're part of a small community and most of that community is your life, it's like you don't know what exists until somebody's done it within your community. You know what I'm saying? So like
Exactly.
the fact that
Very true.
you're doing what you want to do and heading towards a direction of like esthetician or working on cosmetology, and I think that's an interesting direction, because typically in our community, amongst also the Filipino community in general, the first thing people say is do nursing, But if you're in the diaspora and you have the opportunity to kind of like
Exactly. It's a
have
bigger
different
world.
choices. Yeah. But security, it's a hard balance, because there is that sense of security to your thinking in your life. And I think as I've gotten older, that's the reason why even in my older age I go, damn, I should have been a nurse. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't be who I am if I did. You know what I mean? I don't think I would have been.
Yeah.
I mean, even we've talked about it before, because even like our parents obviously wanted us to both do nursing, right, Jay? Like you, me,
No, that's true. That's true. And
Yeah.
completely did. Well, you came the closest. You went into like a medical field, but you went into Chinese medicine and acupuncture. And I went dad's route. I just did military and also I mean, just did a different route. I think that doing what you're passionate about is very important. One is that you'll find a way to hustle and you will make it work. You'll have more incentive to make it work.
Yeah.
And
You'll be happier.
I think that joy really plays out. If kids are in the plans, they'll know that you did something that had that was both purposeful, that had meaning, and also created a sense of joy. I think it's a fallacy to think that, oh well, I can't really afford kids. because you'll never really be able to afford kids because they're just expensive and they eat a lot. Um, but
They eat and they poo a lot. Like
yeah, they create bills. So you just have, but you will hustle because that's part of your legacy.
Yeah.
But I think that there's definitely a value in doing things that that has that that creates joy. Um, and there's definitely a spiritual energy behind it. So
'Cause also, like, a lot of people take home what they go through at work. A lot of
yeah.
people don't know how to separate that, right? So then
Yeah.
if you do something that you're not happy about, you come home not happy, and you release that energy to your family, and it's not healthy for anyone, right? It makes a
Yeah.
bigger problem. Like, just because you're making a lot of money, that's great, but you're not happy. No one's going to be happy.
well, if we could certainly simplify our lives. I mean, I'm waiting for the mass exodus out of the Bay Area. So perhaps maybe the housing value will be cheaper for people to afford. Now, I'm saying this I mean, I actually do own property, so I don't want it to go that much lower. But at the same time, I see the value in it because if people could actually afford to live here, um, people actually be invested. What you have sometimes are just people investing in these properties, just raising the properties in this place in San Francisco, and they don't really care about like the people who live there. It's okay
Yeah.
if there's a gentrification to them. They don't care. Uh, so what I do see is that there's a need for people to actually to own the home at least, to be able to, because it makes you feel like you're living that dream. It makes you feel like whatever you're putting your money into, your investment into, is actually panning out, and that hard work that you're putting into life. Well, I mean, I know that things aren't always equitable for some people, but I think for many of us, uh, there is an equity that allows us to be able to create what that future might be. I think we've spent so much time, on what we don't have. Hey, let's take a look at what we have, and when we do, we can create something. There's opportunity there, but we have to hustle. We have to look for it, and that's a challenge. That means taking responsibility. And so what I see from you is that you're taking that responsibility. You're not just settling for, hey, I could get that nice nursing paycheck. I'm going to go for something that's very passionate for me, and likely you'll find, like, the people in your life who will help support that. Even your sister saying, yeah, do what's passionate,
Yeah.
because then it'll be much better. And when you talk about skincare, yeah, I mean, that's important. Actually, that won't go away either. In fact, during this COVID time, that's what people want. We can't get haircuts. We can't get, I want a facial done.
Yeah.
People want their, nails done because they want to feel pretty again. I mean, gee, I could see that. I've heard conversations about that.
Mhm.
Even if you're locked up, you still there's a way that you want to feel, and part of that is how you present outside
Yeah.
reflects how you feel inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
But definitely, in the field, your dermatology is not going to be taken over by any AI.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's one of the
Exactly.
things in terms of like life choices, like in terms of
Mhm.
jobs and stuff. Like we have to all start looking into like things that won't be taken over by AI.
Mhm.
And
I didn't even
definitely,
think of that, but yeah, true.
I just
yeah.
saw, I think a couple months ago, I saw a video of this guy from Texas that invented this thing that can cut people's hair.
What
Like,
Floby? The Floby? You know what the Floby is, right?
no, what is it?
It's a
It's an
vacuum
old
cleaner,
infomercial for
reverse
it. So
vacuum cleaner.
yeah, it's a it's a vacuum
Oh,
cleaner.
it's a reverse vacuum cleaner?
No,
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 you
Oh,
yeah, it's a
no, it's not
vacuum
reverse,
cleaner.
but you connect the adapters to a vacuum cleaner, right? And
mhm.
then like you pick like a 1 or a 2, and it's like a super wet, clean way to kind of like shave your hair or trim it, and it vacuums up the mess, so you don't
That's
you don't have
I
hair
interesting.
like
like
that.
going all over the place. So it was called the Floby. My friend had one; it was hilarious.
Did it work? Was it good?
It
Because
worked,
what I
man.
saw was it was a machine, and I think it was an AI that he set up, but he invented this thing where it's connected to the computer, but it basically grabs your hair and it cuts it for you, like, and it cuts hair.
Oh
And I
damn,
was like,
dude. Seriously?
well,
Yeah,
That's
but when the
crazy.
robots start taking over, during like Terminator time, take that. It'll do that to us.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
no, no,
Well,
That
no.
the thing
AI
about
machine was cutting my hair, then it stabbed me in the eye.
Because that's the goal of AI. We know that. I don't know why the human beings are trying to kill off the livelihood of other human beings. Come on, man. We know where that's leading up to. I've watched Terminator. I know what the future looks like.
How far did we get into asking her about adoption? Did we go into that far?
not at all yet.
Not at all
No,
yet.
but-
Yeah, let's move into
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Because no, it's
Well-
interesting. There's other folks like you, so we'll see. They can compare and contrast their life listening to you.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
well, that'd be
exactly.
interesting.
Yeah.
But we'll
There
wait
are
for
like
you.
I know there are a couple of people here, there are a couple of kids here where their aunt, I think, adopted them, but their parents are fully alive in the Philippines,
Mhm.
and they were sponsored over here um because of a better future, because there's like, unless you hustle really hard, there's
Mhm.
nothing much in the Philippines, right? Especially when you're coming straight from like the village, like Basao, right?
Yeah.
Unless you hustle really hard, then you're fine. And so they were sent over here to hopefully have a better future. But the thing is, it's like they come here and they still get stuck with the same culture, like house culture, home culture, the same morals and values that they had back home. So then their mentality is still very small town, you know? So then
Okay.
it's not, they don't see the bigger picture. So then it's still a cycle when
Talk
they
about. I want you to
when
talk
they
about.
when they so when they finish, let's say when they finish school, what was I saying? It's like they get encouraged to work, right? Like it doesn't have to be the people that got adopted, but a lot of kids get encouraged to like are here, and then they came when they were like 15, maybe like a little older, and then after they see like their uncles that came here in their adulthood, and then they're like working in construction or working in in labor, right? And then they see that they're making money, and then these kids don't see the bigger picture anymore, and they're like, oh, I want to make money right away, and then they start working in these labor jobs, and then they have like the taste of money, and that was easy. So then they're like, okay, I'm not going to go back to school, and then they don't go back to school, and then they get stuck there, right? And then instead of realizing like the possibilities of what maybe they're passionate about, or the possibilities of something else in the bigger world, they're stuck there because that's all they know, right? And that's all they're taught, that's all they see, right? And so like they're like they go up from there, but it's like it's not like there's more than that. There's more than what your dad did, that there's more than what your uncle did, you know what I mean?
I feel
So
like that's kind of common. I've seen that a lot actually with a lot of people. So yeah, it's
You mean a
unfortunate.
lot of ethnic groups? You mean in different ethnic groups, or you mean like what do you
no,
mean?
I think people in general.
Just people in general.
Well, I was talking amongst
like young.
Igorots, actually.
You were
about Igorot.
Yeah. No, I've seen quite a bit. So
yeah, because there's kids that are Bebop youth that do that. Like there's two of them. There's two of them that work in my company. They do labor.
Mm.
Yeah.
well, I think it's
like
too early
rebar.
to tell if they're going to be stuck there type of thing. But I mean,
No.
just from what I've seen from the past and stuff, yeah, it definitely happens. Yeah, maybe it's a small
Yeah.
town thing, but I'm not sure.
I think so. I mean, like, it's just if so for us, right? We grew up in a more progressive household, probably. That's why we were able to see all these other options, and we weren't stuck to, stuck to nursing, stuck to construction. And we were able to, like, okay, go to school for something else, go to school for what we actually like,
Mhm.
and then these kids are like, I'm making money already. I don't have to realize my passion. I don't have to, you know what I mean? And I don't know if it's a good thing.
Or even if it's not even realizing their passion, sometimes it's like they just, like you said, they don't see the big picture that, like, maybe there are other things that can make me more of this money. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
other than
yeah.
what I'm just doing now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to roll back on what you'd said about like that small town, that small kind of like thinking, because I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it seems that uh, does that have something to do, you believe, about a person's like self-image, or is it easier simply just to work in the labor field, or the perception that it's an easier way to make money?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I
So
feel like I feel like these decisions that they make is molded by what they grow up with, what they see, what they're familiar with. Because us
Yeah.
Igorots, we love familiarity, right? We
Yeah.
love staying in our comfort zone,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then, like, so I feel like because it's comfortable there, they make money there, you know? It's okay
Right.
there.
Right.
So then they don't want to, like, risk, like, maybe if I try this, I might not be successful because I don't know anyone who did this and were successful. Or,
Right.
like, I don't know what that is. It looks interesting, but I don't know anyone who did it. No one's going to tell me about it. So
Right.
I guess not, that kind of thing. Like, you guys have seen
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Totally. I
yeah,
mean,
right?
yeah,
that's why
yeah, for sure.
we were mentioning earlier. It's like, if you're part of a community, especially of a tight community, again,
Yeah.
like, if you haven't seen something, you just don't know it
Mm-hmm.
exists. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what the possibilities are out there until you see
Yeah.
somebody's done something, like, either
Yeah.
owned a business or done this, who's very close to you, and then you see
Yeah.
the potential of what can be done. Otherwise,
Yeah.
like, most folks, you're
But
right, they will stay with what's safe, and
yeah.
and this is a difficult and a challenging thing to talk about, because then you could be construed as a snob. You know what I'm saying? If
Mm-hmm.
by bringing this up, it's like, but really, you're talking about how can we make ourselves as a people kind of move up in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
like, in terms of our thinking and in terms of
Yeah.
to
our,
to be the best that we can be, really, because we
yeah,
want to
Yeah.
live into that wholeness,
Yeah.
right? And it's quite possible that a person, when you look at the easy answer, that might not be the wholeness of who you can be.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want to do construction, why don't you own your own construction company? If you
Exactly. Right.
go that far,
Yeah.
instead of just being the
Yeah.
laborer, learn what it takes to
Yeah.
run the business, that kind of thing. And although
Exactly.
business in itself does take a certain type of mentality, and it helps if you're
Yeah.
mentored, or if you've seen someone in your family who's done it,
Mm-hmm.
because then
That's
they're
why
talk about risk. Yeah.
I think
Sorry.
I think Jay poses a really good question because that thing about what was it? What did you say exactly, Jay? On the like self identity or something, like self image or whatever.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. I mean, how do
Because
we self-actuate ourselves?
yeah,
Um,
because
Mm-hmm.
my one of my like second cousins, she's quite new here,
Mhm.
and she's continued her post secondary education from the Philippines onto here, where she's like, I think she's in BCIT, and she was talking about like how she's naturally shy, she says, but I don't consider her to be quite shy.
Mm.
But she kept talking how like she kept saying how she felt embarrassed being in the class, being the only like not only the only Filipino, but like the only. Actually, no, she was like, I think she was the only Igorot, and she was
Mm.
like talking. She was telling me about how self-conscious she was and whatnot, and how she feels like she needs to be the way her words were was kind of like she makes herself look down on herself kind of thing.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like in a way to be humble in the midst of all these potes and whatnot. And
Hmm.
that I thought it was kind of interesting, and that kind of ties into what Jay was kind of saying.
Yeah.
Well, I think
mean-
there's something about the self-image that it's hard for us to see ourselves beyond what we think our place is in life.
Yeah, because we like to be comfortable. We like to be in the comfort zone. We don't like to take risks.
You know what I think too? Just
Hmm.
my observations that, you know, like a lot of folks want to claim, oh, I'm trying to be humble, and you know, so they don't want to like speak out or kind of
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
like, yeah, and in some ways that humbleness, although that's a great quality in terms of like
mhm,
not being too egotistical, at the same time it's kind of a comfort zone in a
yeah.
sense, because
We're
some
very
people want,
non-confrontational.
yeah,
We don't like drama.
well,
Although we
you
create
know,
drama ourselves sometimes. Like we don't like
yeah,
drama with like other people outside our, you know.
like again, having the conversation like this, some people would construe, oh, those guys are just a bunch of snobs talking about that kind of stuff,
I
but at the
know.
same
Yeah.
time, and oh, they're not being humble, you know, or whatever. But at the same time, it's like these kind of things need to be discussed, like you said, it's the
Mhm,
bigger discussion, it's the bigger
mhm.
picture, and they need to be talked about amongst folks in the diaspora, because like, you know, as a people, how can we develop ourselves and stuff, you know, we have to
Exactly.
ask the hard
Yeah.
questions. And yeah, that's
I
really
think
interesting.
sometimes we get jealous of people's success. And so sometimes there could be a self-sabotaging, almost a fear to get into a place where there is success. And
Mhm.
I know that people will, get critical about, how we define success also. I don't really want to get into that. But what I want to is like a person to feel like into their wholeness, into their fullness.
Mhm.
And life is more than just surviving, I would hope. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I was preaching all about like life has suffering. I mean, that's a truth. That's
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
true basic tenet truths. And
Yeah.
that part of the goal is to do everything that we can to alleviate that suffering. And that means being the
Mhm.
best human being that we could possibly be.
Mhm.
Why not? I mean, we could
Mhm.
go on and say that we're a victim of this and that and this and
Mhm.
that and this, and there's a
Mhm.
truth in that too, no doubt. But the reality is also is that we have to do everything that we can to improve ourselves. We have to take that
Yeah.
responsibility,
Yeah.
and that
I feel
responsibility
like
takes risk.
I feel like some people like saying that we have to like be the best versions of ourselves. I feel like some people need to hear that we need to be the best versions of ourselves and to other people. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Because there's like a different like we have a different um or there are some people that see themselves and improve themselves for themselves, but don't realize that they're affecting other people. You know,
Hmm.
and maybe it's something that they grew up with, they don't realize this, and you mention it, and some people are like, oh, you're right, I'm sorry, and then they change it.
Can you give
So
a deep an example, like just give an
mhm,
example of it?
yeah, for sure, like a very uh superficial one, I guess, just to make
You
it
don't have to
like
use names.
easier. Yeah. It's what's it called? So it's like these influencers nowadays, right? They like
Right.
they do everything to like make themselves better, like a better person in front of all these people. But then they go to other influencers and bash them. You know what I mean? So it's like
Oh,
it's great.
right.
They're doing great for themselves. They're like improving themselves. It's their channels like, getting better. They're getting subscribers, whatever. And then but they go into another person's channel and they like do all these bad things. doing good for themselves, but not for other people. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So you think that's that's also in our community as well?
I think so. I think it's
Yeah.
like it's for example, so let's say I'm not doing any, I'm just doing like the basic survival, like I'm working, I have a house, I have kids, whatever, it's all good, it's fine, right? And then let's
Yeah.
say Gerald like suddenly like opens up a business and it's so it's independent, right? Because we have some independent businesses in our community, right? And then I get
Yeah.
jealous,
It's
right?
called the Torogi
Oh.
Talk
And then
podcast.
I go to
Yeah.
I go to we go to gatherings, and then I go to we gossip,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then we
Of course.
instead of improving ourselves, or like we go to this
Yeah.
person, like, oh, like I got a new job, it's doing really well, and then we're like, do you guys all understand Ilocano?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then so like, oh, like oh, I'm doing really well, whatever, blah blah, and we're talking to other people, so then they know that we're doing well, that we're doing better for ourselves, right? And then suddenly I'm like,
Yeah.
pinada si Jay Kwan ni Gerald, pangit mo.
Oh,
You mean they say that
dang.
when he
What
leaves,
comes
right? When he leaves.
Yeah, just that back talking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are
And
we
so,
talking
like,
about
oh,
crab mentality or something? Like, is that crab mentality?
yeah,
Is it- yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what she
Or is it a
Yeah.
little different?
it's probably like part of it. I think crab mentality
the
is just more like physically like really pulling them down,
Ah, okay.
you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't think of any
No,
other
it-
example.
It's tough, because like when I was young, and then like when I thought about our community, I always had this like pride or sense, especially with the values of the old folks, especially the older folks, right?
Ooh,
I
yeah.
always felt like that we had, but no, I always felt like, oh yeah, like we have this thing that's different than the rest of the other folks, these certain values that we have, that we can be proud about, that we don't have crib mentality. That's a lowlander thing, you know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
as I grew older and started to meet, especially the younger, the generation, like I guess the generation a little bit younger than my parents' generation,
Mhm.
it's like then I started to see that with those folks, and I was like, maybe that's because they're raised in the city. I was thinking like, or they're they're living in the city, and maybe that's where they've got that. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe it comes along. Just it is what it is. Like in the
Mhm.
culture, is it the culture? Is it colonial mentality? Is it something that comes from small town thinking? That
Mhm.
weird jealousy of like like you see one of your fellow people in your community doing well, and you're like, ugh, whatever, that guy, right? It's
Mhm.
just
Don't you think it
and
has
I
a lot
when I
to
started to
do?
see that.
In the
But when I started to
contrary,
see that
though,
as I got
yeah.
older, I just became disappointed, I became disappointed that I was actually seeing that within our people. And it
Yeah.
totally ruined my image of what I thought our people were, like it's very
But I have
I
to
don't know.
mention though, like there are more people that are more supportive than there are not. Like I see
Okay.
the support is stronger than the ones that are not.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
You know, it's like
I mean, I definitely see that with elders when they do that. They love seeing the younger generation move up, climb
yeah,
climb the ladder of the dominance hierarchy or the success ladder or something like
right.
that, and they
Yeah.
love it. They see you and they're a part of your life, and they're really proud.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
what's harder is when we have our peers, our age mates, and that's where you see that like jealousy streak happening, because then they compare themselves to you, and it's like, well, that didn't happen to me,
Mhm.
and that I mean, we put so much energy into that stuff as a people
Mhm.
that it's almost self-destructive, you know. Uh, that happens, and it's of course it's not everyone. There's some people who could care less about that nonsense,
Yeah.
but you could see that. You could see that streak that happens in people.
I mean, like sometimes there's even issues like I guess I'll get into it. Like issues of like uh so like typically people born in the diaspora are called second generation, and those who came
Mhm.
in uh the first migrants, like our parents, would be considered like first generation. You, on the other hand, you're considered, some in certain terms, would be somewhere in the middle. So sometimes people would say you're like
Mhm.
a 1.5 generation because you've adapted in a way that's not like the first immigrants who came, right? Because you're kind of
Yeah.
like in the middle, almost like a hybrid. And sometimes like and I have to say, sometimes because you're a hybrid, I'm really interested to see like your point of view. But like some
Yeah.
folks, like they would say like a lot of the folks born in diaspora, oh, they get this feeling like, oh, they don't work hard, they don't need to work hard, they're they don't even know our culture, they don't know, like all this stuff, like they don't care, they don't work hard. But a lot of this, like, they don't work hard stuff, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
anybody, like, when you're in the diaspora, you got to work your ass off to make a living, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's not like we're not working our ass off, but then there's this instant, because naturally those who are born in like, say, the United States, Canada, or England,
Mhm.
there is a certain privilege, I guess, that they're born with, right? That
Mhm.
we're born with, that, like, because we got the citizenship and stuff. And so a lot of folks, we've been thrown shade. So have you observed this? And you being in the middle of kind of
Mhm.
like coming in when you're a young teen, you're not quite
Mhm.
like the old folks, or like the first generation. You're not, and you have this, but you understand the second generation kind of
Mhm.
thing as well. So like,
Yeah.
when people are throwing shade that way, like, what's your perspective? I'm just curious.
I think I got lucky in the way that the family that I have around me are pretty progressive, and they realize the in between, because
Mm-hmm.
I think the in between that I am in right now is like I work, I work hard enough. I work smart, like I don't have to. I'm
Yeah.
not working 3 jobs. I'm not working 2 jobs. You know what I mean? And it's like I'm
Mhm.
working enough to survive and enjoy living and stuff like that. And the family that I have around me, they're not like saying that I should work more, or like saying that I should study like a certain, like we discussed earlier. But I do realize from like um other families, other children,
Mhm.
when they get said that, it's I think it's because their parents, when they first came, and
Mhm.
before they were born or whatever, I feel like it's because the parents made less before, and so they had to work more, right, to get
Mhm.
to where they are now. And some of these parents feel like their kids have to work just as hard, but they don't realize that they're already, you know what I mean, they're born in like
Yeah.
with resources, and like with the foundation to
Yeah.
not have to work just as hard. They don't realize that that's why they worked that hard, so that
Yeah.
their kids, don't have to work as much but still live well.
Mhm.
And I think that's what they don't these some of these parents don't realize for these kids. And so sometimes the kids, feel some kids um realize this themselves, and like live the way that they want anyway, and then some kids don't, and end up listening to their parents and end up working more than they probably should, and they're probably the rich ones. I don't know, they probably end up being
Uh,
rich. I don't know.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel that
Who knows?
sometimes it's definitely a class thing. Even amongst the Igorot people, we have a class strata
Mm.
that can
Mm.
be hard for some people to break out of.
Mhm.
And you could see it through
In terms of the
socioeconomic, you could see
mentality?
it through education. Yeah. There's a certain thing. Um, and like in terms of like socioeconomic status, educational status. Um, those things play a huge difference in how people will see themselves. It's like how, I mean, we as people love titles. So if you saw Doctor something forever, even if they're like PhD, they're, if they're in that title, that's a title, and we love saying that. Even if we don't normally call people attorney something, but Filipinos kind of will. Like your father-in-law gets it all the time.
Yes.
It's attorney
Attorney
Putan.
Stone, Richard Stone. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and obviously I get father all the time. So and
Yeah.
we do love that. That's part of our thing. But at the same time, also, it puts us definitely on certain hierarchies. Not that hierarchies aren't bad. It's part of the norm of human existence. I think we need it. It exists for a reason. But sometimes, if we can't see ourselves being able to elevate ourselves on that hierarchy, then that can limit our ability to live into our fullness.
Which is why people probably like lean towards like, when they do get jealous and the crab mentality comes out, it's they can't see themselves going, maybe like maybe they just can't see themselves moving up a different level. Or do I don't know, is that what you mean? Or
Well, yeah. It's hard to imagine yourself outside of what that might be, or beyond what you think you are. You are what you think you are. I mean, that's essentially what it is. So if you don't see that great potential in you, no matter what someone says, you just don't see it. It doesn't exist. I mean, at least it's not attainable, because I mean, you have to give yourself some love, and love is going to be a choice in all of that. So if you're not willing to give yourself a little bit of love, oh boy, it's harder.
I haven't actually with the Igorot families that I'm surrounded with right now. I think this came with age too. I was able to like pick the ones I like get surrounded with, and so they don't really. They're not ones to push their kids to like work hard, or like, you know what I mean. They just want them to do well, do well with whatever they choose to do, and take care of them when they get older. That is like the main the main consensus with like the families that I surround myself with right now. So
I think that's very much consistent with many Igorot families. What I do see that's definitely different with a lot of like, maybe if you look at like other Filipino families outside of Igorot context, you definitely see a lot more like people telling people what they want them to do, kind of stuff. But I think there seems to be a little bit. It seems to be consistent that there's a little bit more freedom for Igorot children to live into that, their passion, into that wholeness. But that's been my observation. I mean, who knows if that's the total truth, but just my observation.
We were
Igorot
just talking stuff about
masculinity?
you, so
Wow, I like that. So
toxic masculinity, the macho
Igorot
masculinity.
toxicness.
I mean,
Well,
is it
you know what?
is it toxic? I mean, or is it like how you say? Because I think that sometimes if we're starting to call our guys toxic, it's going to be hard for us to define what is actually healthy, because for a lot of guys, it's about teaching people self-control.
True.
And what I don't buy into is, like, if you're going to tell a kid that their aggressive behavior is toxic, then what are you turning them into? Are you trying to feminize them in a certain way? Because then what replaces that? And then I think that's a hard thing. And I hear this because there's a lot of dialogue. I've been reading Bell Hooks. I don't know if you've ever read her. She's an African American activist. And feminist. And she has this book called All About Love. And one of the things that she talks about, and I don't remember her using the toxic masculinity term, but she has talked about like negative aspects of how males, especially African American males, have embraced, the dynamic of patriarchy, uh, uh, and power in love, and that it is manifested in things that look dishonest. And it's not just males, of course. I mean, females could certainly do this too, but you could see it like in a line, and that's very prevalent in there. And there's a danger, I believe, based on some of the readings that I've read from her and then other folks' writings, that if we define certain behaviors that look like it's toxic masculinity as negative, then what we do is we demasculate, we dehumanize a guy. And then what else do you have? If you lose like the identity of who you think you are, then you don't actually teach them the capacity to actually have self-control or mastery over that thing that's creating a negative antisocial behavior. So to me, I'm a little bit like I'm concerned about that term, because obviously it's prevalent now in our culture, and people are using it in a way that's saying that the way guys behave is wrong and negative. Um, and I think it definitely needs a certain kind of evaluation of, okay, what's it replacing? What are we really talking about? Are we talking about retribution and revenge for people who have certainly felt powerless under like certain patriarchy? Because I don't feel like I've been part of the masculine patriarchy. So I mean, would I want that privilege? Oh, yeah, maybe, because then I don't have to think about certain things. But at the same time, uh, uh, no, this is who God created me to be. So obviously, then it's worth embracing, and especially because I think Asian guys, especially coming to into the into the Western world here, we get demasculized all over the place. In fact, Dave Chappelle had a piece on it, about Manny Pacquiao losing his deal. And it was part of one of his comedy skits, but he had mentioned Manny Pacquiao losing his shoe deal from Nike, because he'd made a blurb about uh, gay people. And yeah, Manny Pacquiao made a mistake, but I think also what Chappelle was saying was that, hey, other people say worse stuff and they don't get cut like that. And it's an interesting point of view. Chappelle is also married to a Filipino woman, so he probably hears it from a different point of view at home.
Yeah,
So
he probably hears his wife like saying, "Man, that's messed up," and any Filipino issue she probably brings up. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He kind of hinted at that, actually. Because he was his wife. The last one he did, his wife talked about him and Asian jokes about Asian folks, Filipinos in general, and kind of tell him to curb that a little bit. and, and he was kind of like talking about like, well, I can't help it, man. Can't be too politically correct and all this other stuff. But political correctness does have its place in terms of like uh trying to help people open their eyes a little bit. I'm not gonna say the word woke, but like just but just to kind of bring a certain awareness so that maybe people will think twice when they blurt out something. But it depends on, it's all, again, everything's about context and relationship, right? I mean, if it's a comedy show, that's one thing. If they're saying it like to somebody at their job, it's another, right? But yeah, I think like when it comes to the those kind of dynamics of toxic masculinity, I think from Igorot perspective, I know the things that people might bring up, and the biggest issue will be drinking. Drinking it to excess.
Oh man,
Yeah, I'm sure, because in
we
our
have a lot of
community, that's
Bartakera out there, man.
yeah, man. And and it's, but then there's some the thing about drinking though, and I'm not trying to glorify it or anything like that, but in our traditionally in our culture, like when the prayers are done, all the prayers are always affirmed by everybody taking a swig of some tapoy, right? So it's like it's kind of like it's part of the culture in some weird sense. But the problem is that there's obviously a certain context that's removed. See, in that context, there's prayers connected to it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then there's
And Tapoy wasn't
there's a
used to get
spiritual
drunk. Like it's not
there's a
meant to get
spirituality connected to it. So,
yeah.
and usually like the over drinking is connected to like it could be connected to somebody's dawak, their marriage, a big kanyao, they're celebrating a hunting party or something like that, or harvest, right? So those drinking moments are celebrated during some
Celebration.
type of celebration that's connected to ritual, right? A lot
Mhm.
of times, or it could, but like now it's gone to that excess that you were talking about, where it's like, man, it can be like almost every night. As long as the guys have the budget, they go out and man, they can just drink to excess, and
Well,
I think it has a little bit to do with the how maybe especially over here we have a lot of folks who uh self-esteem wise, and they're missing home. Some don't
Mm,
have papers.
yeah.
They're
well, they don't
undocumented.
feel on par with the
Yeah, they-
with
with
the
everybody
population
else.
there.
I mean,
And I
yeah, especially if you're TNT or something like that. And so there was layers in terms of like why they consistently drink. But then it's also connected to that sense of like um I don't know. I want to say if it's manliness. I don't want to say that, but that sense of like, hey, man, like this is what we do as friends. This is what we do as our brotherhood. Almost, it's more like a brotherhood. Like this is what we do. Is like, and I know that if you're drinking with me, you're not judging me. You're being a part of my crew.
actually
You're being one of
that's
my
true. You'll hear that
boys.
a lot.
And
If you could drink with me, then you're part of that. And
yeah,
definitely when
they
I
don't
was
feel like they're
last
being
time I was in
judged.
UK, last time I was in UK and I took a couple swigs with those guys, that's definitely what I
Yeah.
heard repeated over and over again was, "Oh, you're
Mhm.
like one of us." And that's
Yeah. Yeah.
important to the guys who feel they're demasculated already in a place
Yeah,
that,
there's that weird connection to being demasculated,
right, right.
because they
And
don't feel
Chappelle
like they
certainly
can be
talks
on
about that
par.
in that comedy in his last comedy skit piece that he did. And that's something to be, I mean, that's something to pay attention
It's
to.
something to consider. Yeah, it's something to consider and think about. So I think, like, in terms of like trying to put some discipline in terms of like the control aspect. I don't know. What do you guys think? Are there suggestions that you feel from your perspective? Then
Responsibility.
uh, yeah, responsibility. But I'm just curious from the female perspective. Like you're
Mhm,
witnessing this from the female
mhm.
perspective in your community. So like what is your personal thoughts and in terms of like as a community, kind of like working
And the
with this
drinking?
issue. You know,
And is
huh?
gambling also an issue there too?
No, I don't
Amongst
think so.
it's
It's
mostly
mostly
the
alcohol.
drinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think most of because of COVID and like that the gatherings don't happen as much anymore. I don't see it as much anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Mm.
and even like the few gatherings that we had before that, like they had drinks, but like it wasn't as bad as before. And now they're actually because one thing that the uncles do that like we hate so much is that they drink and drive, and it's
Uh-oh.
so dangerous.
That's
And it's
Ooh,
we've
no
we've
good.
spoken about it for like many years, right? We would tell them about it,
hmm
but actually now they've learned. So what they do is they designate a driver, they call a cab or Uber.
Oh wow.
And that's
hmm
like most of the stuff that they do now because they like to go like play darts somewhere or something and they will
hmm
drink, so then they like or they call like they're like, okay, my daughter drives now. I'll get her to drive the car and bring us home and stuff like that. So it's
Right.
like that like the frequency right now is like really low compared to before. and the habit of them drinking and driving is much lower as well. So I can't really say much about like the alcoholism. I mean, like I don't know what happens at their house because I know that there are some Igorot dads that drink every day at their house, a beer or two, right? I can't speak for them, but like with what I see in gatherings and stuff, it's gotten better. Like obviously it's not like 100%, but it's all right
Yeah.
at this point. But I think the one of the bigger masculinity traits of Igorots that I wanted to speak about is their like their macho culture. You know, it's like, oh, guys don't do that. You know, or like girls only do that.
Oh.
I was while you guys were speaking, I was trying to think of an example, but like I'm sure you guys have seen that. You know, like oh,
Well,
I'm not gonna change the
drinking
baby
is part of that big thing.
Yeah,
Drinking
Used
is
to be
a part of
cigarette
that.
smoking too. I remember
yeah,
Oh,
hearing
cigarette
a lot
smoking.
of times,
Yeah.
oh, you're not a man if you don't smoke.
yeah. True. That's true.
Yeah, even the old priests used to smoke a ton, man, because that's what they learned when they were young.
That's what
So, you know.
I'm like, oh heck no, I'm not gonna spend $5 for the pack of that stuff and
Yeah.
eventually, take out $100 out of my paycheck for that. No, you could have your lung cancer.
but like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're talking about like just keep on going.
Oh,
I
like
just want to hear you define that a little bit more.
oh, so like some
Yeah.
men are like, um, oh, like I won't change the baby's diaper. That's a woman's job.
Oh,
Oh,
that.
I won't
Yeah,
feed the
yeah,
baby.
yeah.
It's a woman's job, you know, or like why? Oh, these are like more of the really small town mentality people, but like it's like
Mhm.
apa yung babaunan dak, you know, like
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
the only one to like ask you to do things. Like, why are you asking me to do things? You know, that kind of thing.
yeah.
It's not obviously it's not everyone, but it's like you see it.
There's a certain level of disagreeability and not wanting to kind of like help out. But we're in the,
Mhm,
in Canada and America, and I'm sure in
mhm.
Europe too. Uh, Men are expected nowadays to help
Yeah, that's what I'm
in
saying.
that.
Right.
That has
Yeah.
evolved. That has evolved.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't know how it is in the Philippines though. Is that still kind of like has that shifted yet?
I don't know. I haven't gone back or spent that like a long time when I have, so I haven't observed. But again,
Mm.
like my family is pretty progressive, so the men do that. It's pretty equal.
Is this your observation that there's a little bit more kind of like egalitarian structure in Igorot households in terms of like a male, like husband and wife being able to, uh, um, in that relationship having equal say?
Um, yeah. Sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Well, the way I'm pretty sure I think Mark would agree with this, but our parents had very equal say in the
Oh,
happenings of the relationship and
yeah.
happenings of the
Mhm.
household.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and that was just how things operated. So I always kind of like looked at it from a very egalitarian kind of way. Whereas, like, if I have Ilocano friends and, it's very matriarchal, very matriarchal. The guys never say anything. They just kind of like sit in the back and smoke, and
Mm-hmm.
it's they're always quiet. And then when they ask, and then when the matriarch asks to do something, then they do something. But they don't say very much. And I
Mm-hmm.
noticed that.
Mhm.
But in Igorot household, oftentimes there's certain like egalitarianness. But I don't know. That's our household, and maybe that was the same way in your household because it leans a little bit more progressively.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same with me. It's pretty equal. Yeah, I mean, like, not to say that I've observed as well some other families where it's very matriarchal. So like I've seen that in Igorot families as well. And so it's
Oh,
not
okay.
like it's not uncommon. I mean it's not that common, but it's not something unknown to us as well. It does happen. Um another behavior that I don't like with some of the Igorot guys that I've observed, I guess.
Yeah.
That they're
What,
very
observe or
aloof.
dated?
Let's go with observed. They're very
Okay.
aloof. They don't talk about their feelings. They don't talk about, they don't have these difficult conversations that you need in a relationship. And or like, okay, let's go buy something in the store. And he makes me go buy the thing, like quite like you know what I mean? Or like order food and I have to order it. I don't understand. Like I mean he doesn't have to do it all the time. I'm not asking him to do it all the time.
Mhm.
But I do it all the time, that kind of thing, you know?
Mm.
You know?
Oh, wow.
And they're very aloof.
Yeah,
They don't
yeah.
talk. They're not straight with their feelings, and it's just like they show you that they kind of like you, and
Yeah.
then they don't like you, and then they show you that they like you, and then they get mad when you like decide not to like them. Like, excuse me.
Yeah,
Then
that's
like kind of passive
definitely
aggressive.
Yeah, passive
those are
aggressive. Yeah.
examples of like
Yeah.
toxic masculinity. And I'm on the same boat as Jay in terms of how I feel about the whole um popularization of the term, but
Mhm.
definite examples of like negative behaviors of human behaviors. But yeah,
Yeah.
toxic masculinity. Because like I was just thinking about this too, and in a more traditional Igorot machismo way, like this discussion wouldn't be a very manly macho thing. The fact that we're like talking, because the
Mhm.
Yeah.
traditional stoic Igorot man is quiet, very self reserved or whatever. The fact that we're taking the time out of our day to like talk with other dudes, that's so like that's what women do. You know what I mean? Even the
Mhm.
fact
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
like I know you guys pretty well, so like the way you bring up your children, the way you talk to your kids, the way we're into nerdy stuff, that's not traditionally manly things. The fact that I like Star Wars,
Yeah.
Jake, Mark, we all like all these
Oh,
nerdy
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
like definitely, like I know what you're talking about, Denai, because like growing up,
Yeah.
that's how my dad was kind of like towards me. So growing up, I always hated like my dad. I was like, oh my dad, I'll never be like my dad, whatever. But like, I guess as time goes on, like, and the fact that my dad's gotten older, he just doesn't care about that stuff. Doesn't care about the fact that I'm not manly enough or whatever like that. But I do agree in terms of the traditional idea of masculinity that there are a lot of like negative aspects to it. Because like honestly, like I'm not sure if you guys agree, but like this sort of discussion that we're having is wouldn't fall. You know what I mean? It's not manly. Like even
Mhm.
within Latino culture, like people from Cuba, they wouldn't have stuff like this. Maybe if we were drunk, the only time men would talk is when they're drunk, when they're
Yeah, yeah,
fucked
yeah.
up, right? But so yeah, in a sense, I do agree with that. There's a lot of stuff that has passed away through time, which is like
Mhm.
Mhm.
all this men being not talking about their feelings and stuff, not being friendly with each other.
Yeah.
Like me and my friends, I always joke about like touching each other. You know what I mean? Like we make fun about we make fun of our masculinity as opposed to if I was growing up back in the 70s in the barrio or sorry in the Ely or something where it wouldn't fall that way, you know what I mean? So that is
Yeah.
something that is a cool observation and a conversation to be had. Because I think if we were to have somebody much older, like one of the older generation, it would be a totally different conversation on their end. You know what I mean? So that's just my
Mhm. Mhm.
that's just my take
The
on it.
conversation probably would have ended already. Like There would not be a conversation if there was like someone. Okay.
Just to put a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of like perspective in terms of why. So I mentioned earlier that like a lot of like certain attitudes were created and seen as negative, but that's because everything is out of context now, right? So like the old traditions is to have the you know the ato and the dap ice where the women are they're in womanhood in their side, and the men learn about being a man on the other side.
Mhm.
And so that made sense back then in that
At its
cultural
time, yeah.
society. And yeah, and it's time. And the funny thing is that like it's just like a lot of things in terms of beliefs, is like things get passed down and they get passed down, but then meaning gets lost.
Mm,
So men still gather together, but a lot of the lesson learning isn't passed down, and a lot of like the straight talk in terms of values are not
mhm,
passed down. You know,
Is that a
so
generational thing?
I think that's just part of the evolution of like kind of losing your culture a little bit, you know,
mhm,
and and
Well,
and
I
moving more into the Western type of thinking. I so
mhm,
I that's my my what I think and what I've observed is
because I
because
think that
you know
happened in the Philippines first. And you could see with
yes,
our
yeah,
parents'
definitely happens in
generation
the Philippines.
and that separation that happened amongst,
Yeah.
as they came over here, because they're the ones, for at least our parents' context, they're the ones who
Right.
came over here. And they're the ones who got educated in this very Western way of looking at the world.
Hmm.
And so that's a generation. Then I don't know what generation your parents would be, but they might.
And I sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. But
They
But
uh, they were. I didn't really know my mom, but I think my dad was pretty toxic. I mean, like in the sense
mm.
that in the sense that he
the
goes to work
typical.
and then comes home drunk, that kind of thing.
So
Otherwise,
he had
he's
some
Yeah.
antisocial kind of like disagreeable behaviors, at least uh, more or
like okay,
antisocial kind of
well, like
behaviors.
if he were to be with us here, I probably would have said a couple things, but like nothing major, nothing
Oh,
like
oh, got it.
like
Yeah.
yeah, he would change diapers and stuff like that kind of thing. But he wouldn't talk about feelings.
No, no, no. That would be a no go.
No.
Yeah.
That's like
That would be a
see,
no
I
go.
think that's
I
definitely
understand. I hear that.
so you mentioned like generational kind of thing, and I think that's definitely folks from the Philippines, they kind of like continue this certain way of thinking, with again without other things being connected with it anymore. So because like when you see
Yeah.
a lot of folks, especially a lot of the first generation folks, you'll see them when all the men will be hanging out together and all the females will be hanging out together. But then you see the second generation folks, like our generation or even 1.5 generation, they're all mixed up. All the girls and the guys are kind of mixing up and talking to each other and having fun. But like
Yeah.
the older generation, you see all the men hang out with each other, and on the other side, all the women hang out with each other. They're separate tables, and they just like do
Mm.
their own thing. But
Oh, I
like I
got it. I
said, the
got it.
second generation, the 1.5 generation, they don't do that. They kind of mix up. So like
Mhm.
and they talk like what we're doing right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
our this kind of thing. So I think like a lot of that um will change in the next few generations. Like so
I hope so.
uh yeah, I mean it's already changing like with our generation, second generation
Mhm.
folks, 1.5 generation folks. But these attitudes and stuff what you might consider like antisocial kind of behavior like continues because of again that loss of connection in terms of like the context in which it came from.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
normal
Right.
to kind of like the men kind of hang out because they're learning
Mhm.
from each other.
Yeah.
But then uh, of course and then and we talked about this before in terms of what's a man's role, right? You learn that in the auto. What's a female's role? You learn that. And it's not that that's a bad thing, but that's how it was in those times. It's like you learn what is it to be a man, what is it to be a woman. But some of the things that connected to like what does it mean to be a man now is like,
Right.
oh, smoking, drinking, so those this kind of
And they don't
we're gonna
have
be
the
doing
auto. They don't have the
the
context
values
to
aren't
create a
connected to it,
framework
the context. Yeah,
to be
because I
mentored into
think like
this.
to be mentored as a man, you know what I mean, to kind of like understand why are we gathering like this, because there's supposed to be values and certain things that are supposed to be coming across with that, not just drinking, but like a sense of brotherhood where we're learning, especially from the older folks. Yeah, because that
Right.
kind of like male mentorship is important amongst males. And but again, if you're not getting the values from the older folks to the younger generation and the next generation, you kind of like get the gathering, you get the drinking, but again, the rest of it's kind of X'd out. Well, where's the rest of that part? And yeah, so then I think you end up like adopting certain things like, oh, what is like, oh, to be a man is to do this, or to be a man is to do that. And you get stuck in those things without even thinking about why you're doing it. Why is it that way?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
you get stuck in a certain mentality, and you know,
Especially when they grow up back home, it's like it is what it is.
yeah, yeah, it
Like
Right.
is what it
Right.
is.
everyone does.
Do you see
Everyone
it
says,
changing for Danai? Do you
yeah.
see that changing amongst your peer group though? I mean, do you see the evolution happening amongst within your peer group?
Not like not the guys in the 20s right now, because a lot of the ones that are here, are like me, are like 1.5, but they are in a household where they're still stuck in
Mhm.
in that mentality. So
Right.
then a
Right.
lot of them are 1.5, but they're stuck in that mentality. So they still have that, like, that behavior, I guess. But I could see that the ones below us, the ones that were born here or were here when they were like 4 or 5 or something, I can see the change from them.
Mhm.
Not yet from me. I haven't
Yeah.
met anyone. I haven't met anyone in my age group that like here in Calgary that
Yeah.
that think differently.
I'm just curious, but and this is at the risk of looking like a snob or something like that. But like, do you think that
Let's
like,
look like a snob, manong.
well, like some people will just they might automatically judge this, but like, do you think like education helps people out of that kind of thinking?
For
Like,
sure.
if I went
Because
to university, or if I had the
yeah,
opportunity to go to university or something like that.
oh yeah, for sure. Because it exposes you to other people, other cultures,
Mm,
right? And like
yeah,
other
yeah,
possibilities, right? And like other
yeah.
mentalities, other behaviors. So it's like this is hoping that you as an Igorot man going into university has an open mind. Because if you
Mhm.
go in and you're not receiving anything, you're not receptive of anything in your environment that's happening around you,
Yeah.
you can't change. Like you have to,
Mhm.
it's like it has to start before going into university, right? Like the mentality, the mindset that you have.
Yeah. I mean, it
Yeah,
could be transformative through the
it's true.
process of getting educated.
Yeah,
It's
that's
possible.
true.
But I hear
Yeah,
you though. Like, I mean, if just in general, if you're not doing that self work,
yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's kind of, and it depends on the field
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah.
involved with. Obviously, if you're, I guess if you're gonna, no, but I've seen it in the old school priests too. I was gonna say like, oh, let's say you're gonna become a priest, then obviously you should be thinking a little bit differently. But
Yeah,
I kind of seen it with the older generation, maybe not the new generation of priests, but like definitely the older generation was still kind of really masculine, macho type, like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Uh, That's
Well,
an interesting
there's
question.
an
I think.
assumption that you have that cowboy kind of thinking, where you have that
Yeah.
self-reliant, Marlboro man kind of thing going on. Yeah, that's actually an interesting question because I mean it's definitely layered. I think that some things are are definitely some things have to be evaluated in terms of like how we see ourselves, how some Igorots see themselves as men, because I think you're right on, Mark, that the aspects of what it means to be a man, those shouldn't be it. I mean, smoking and drinking and and the more you can drink, no, that the evaluation's wrong, and that in fact it's your capacity to take responsibility, your
Yeah.
ability to rise, and better yourself. That's what you should be evaluated on. Your ability to take care of your kids and stuff, and like really take care of your kids. Your capacity to communicate.
Which you'd think typically would be an Igorot value, right? Because that's
I
what
think
I've always felt
some of it
when I was
is there, but
younger.
I think
The ability to take care of your family. Did he leave a final question for us to
He
kind of
did,
like?
yeah. If you could learn any language other than English or one from the Philippines, what would it be?
Bisaya. Just 'cause it's a
That-
lot of them. It's a
how come
In
lot.
Bisaya?
of them.
Buslot? Really?
Wow.
Bisaya.
in your area in Calgary, there's a lot of Visayan people there.
No, there's actually a lot of Mindanao people here.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
Is it?
Wow.
Yeah.
weird.
Wow, that's amazing. I'd learn French.
I learned Chinese, Mandarin.
German or Russian.
Okay, so
Correct.
so this is the one that's other than Philippine language, then, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm with you on, Chinese Mandarin. Yeah, that's the one I wanna, because I was learning it, when I was doing traditional Chinese medicine. But man, that's a fucking hard language to learn, man. It's like, and what's difficult too is that most people in the UK are like Cantonese speaking, so it's like,
Really?
damn, should I just
Wow.
learn
Oh,
Cantonese
right, because
instead?
Yeah,
Saudi.
Hong Kong,
Yeah,
right?
Hong Kong.
Oh,
but
geez.
I've always been conflicted because I'm always like, man, how can I learn Chinese if I don't even learn like Ilocano or Tagalog first? You know what I mean? Like, it's been tough.
You gotta do
Yeah.
what's useful, though. I mean, or maybe just what you'd had fun with. Rowan's taking Japanese.
Oh,
Because he,
So cool.
Nice.
yeah, because his goal was to be able to understand anime and not have to look at the subtitles.
See, that was me
with Korean.
with my
Yeah.
Korean.
What's
There you
so yours
go.
would be
That's
Korean?
right.
Huh?
Yours would be Korean, or would you pick
Yeah.
something else?
No, I mean like Chinese, probably Mandarin.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, yeah.
But yours was
Okay.
Russian, right? Yours was
German.
Russian.
Yeah, Russian, but I
I just
also
want to sound mad.
So yeah, you could get one of the mail order ladies to come
yeah.
over. Right? No, I just
German. And Russian, oof. But German is such a cool language to me. I don't know.
The cool thing is that you'll be able to see some parallels with German and English,
English.
because
Yeah,
it's a Germanic language, so you'll see some things.
Yeah.
How about as far as Filipino language then? You've already said yours Visaya. How about Idol?
Jay?
Kankanai,
Mm.
because I want to be able to say all of those the way we say it over there. It just I find it just really cool how it's said and how it rolls off the tongue. Although I can't really say
The
it
good
myself.
thing is, but the good thing is the Ilocano has a Kankanai accent.
Yeah. So I mean that kind of helps already. So
At the start. At the start. Yeah.
That's wood.
What?
Yeah, not when. Woon.
I'd try to actually learn Iboloy. Like I understand it,
Iboloy.
but I need to be able to learn how to speak it. That'd be better.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my choices.
I think mine goes to
Yeah.
Kankanai.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Kankanai where?
Hmm?
Kankanai
Oh,
where?
well, just is there a standard? Because like if I was to learn the one from like Masla, then you have to pronounce everything like Mahala and stuff like that. You know, probably just your standard Kankanai from like
There is
I
no
guess
standard.
because my oh
Yeah,
god, do
there
you have
is
to
no
go there?
standard. It's
all
not like
different.
English
Okay.
standard.
Yeah.
There's no
I
such thing as
okay.
full-blooded.
Yeah, there's no. I don't know. I either one. I guess then from Masla because my mom's side, or
Okay.
maybe my dad's side is like from Sabangan. So like it's
Ooh.
like yeah. So it's hard. It's hard to. It's hard to say. I just want to learn something.
Good luck.
Just so
I
I can
speak your wife's
so I can hang.
Kankanai. So.
Well, yeah, they're the ones that are speaking all around me, all the Basal people. So that's the one I'm
Maybe.
probably learning the most of is Basal version. But there's a
Yeah,
lot of folks here too. So, but then obviously, yeah, the easiest one would be the Basal from where they're from. But
yeah.
yeah, I guess that's good for now, guys. Hey, thanks again for making
Thanks
it
for
out,
having
and
me.
yeah.